हेलो हेलो नमस्ते। आप सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है हमारे इस पॉडकास्ट में जिसका नाम है आर्ट्स एंड लाइफ विद शुभा। कला और जीवन शुभा के साथ। आप जानते हैं इस पॉडकास्ट में हम तमाम कलाओं की बात करते हैं और कला से हमारा मतलब है हर तरह की कला, चाहे वो विजुअल आर्ट हो, परफॉर्मिंग आर्ट्स हो या फिर कोई भी आर्ट्स हो, लिटरेरी आर्ट्स हो। हम उसके एक्सपर्ट्स को यहाँ पे बुलाते हैं और उनसे बातचीत करते हैं। और आज की जो हमारी एक्सपर्ट हैं वो बहुत खास हैं और उनसे हम जल्दी ही आपको मिलवाएंगे। लेकिन एक बात हम आपको बताना चाहते हैं कि आप अपने सवाल, अपने कमेंट्स भी लगातार हमें दे सकते हैं। तो ज्यादा देर न करते हुए हम अपने एक्सपर्ट को बुलाते हैं। मैं तो हिंदी में ही बोल रहा हूँ। Welcome everyone. I am Shuba. I welcome you on behalf of Online School of Drama to this podcast named Arts and Life with Shuba. This is a platform where we invite guests who share their experience in any of the art forms, visual arts, literary arts, performing arts, all arts, right? And today's guests, very special guest, has something to do with all art, but she is more known for drama arts. So let me welcome today's guest, Patrice Baldwin. Please join us, Patrice. Hello, welcome, Patrice.
Hello.
I am highly honored, Patrice, and I'm extremely happy, but I'm also feeling dara hua. And I have used this Hindi term, dara hua. I'm feeling dara hua, bhaibhit. That means I'm little nervous and I'm little in fear because the kind of huge experience you are sitting here with and the kind of voice you are in the world of drama in education today. I, as a very ordinary drama in education practitioner, am feeling a little nervous. That is all I wanted to say. But would you please allow me to say what made you to say yes to me, an ordinary drama in education practitioner, for this broadcast, Petrace?
Well, you seemed very nice. Um, I obviously I don't say yes to everything, but I thought that what you were doing looked very worthwhile, and I was happy to talk with you. So if that's of benefit to anybody, that's fine.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's been kind of you that you were readily you agreed and you wanted to ask what will we do and how will we do it. And yes, benefit of many people. We are not talking about those who are new practitioners, who are beginners. We are talking about those who are well experienced and they have been working for long. For them also your experience means a lot, because we want to make it a platform where we listen to the experts and learn from them, because especially in India we do not have many platforms where we can talk to the experts and learn from them and their experience. Let me ask you the very first question. Like, it was always in your mind that you will be a drama person, or it was just a sudden pull, or you wanted to be something else and you landed up being this? What was it like?
I wanted to be a doctor.
I see.
However,
Then,
um, yes, no, all my childhood I wanted to be a doctor. Um, if I'm honest, my mother wouldn't let me. Um, but I became very hooked with drama when I was in my teens. And I had experienced performing at school in plays, but the thing that grabbed me was when I joined a youth theatre and we were allowed to create performances of our own with our own ideas, with the help
mhm.
of somebody who was a drama person. And that suddenly became very exciting that we were doing the thinking, we were doing the creating. So I did a degree in English and drama. And that's interesting because in this country, drama has been put in England, drama has been placed inside English. And I don't think it should be.
Yeah.
I think it should be a separate subject. And I have a degree in English and drama. They're different. Um, so, yeah. And then, yes, I was interested in drama, which was theatre. I mean, that's what I did when I did my degree. It was theatre. But my drama lecturer said to me, I stayed on to do more qualification, and I was the only student then, which is a pretty unusual idea now in the business world with education. And she said to me, "You have to do a drama exam in something called drama in education." She said, "I don't know what it is." She said, "But here are some past papers, and here's a film you can watch. It's some woman called Dorothy Heathcote. I don't know who she is, but she's the person you have to watch." She said, "And when you've watched the film, come back and we'll talk about it." So I thought, okay.
Yeah.
So by myself, I sat and watched this film, and I thought, what is she doing? It's extraordinary. Because and I did meet Dorothy quite a lot in her later life, but I looked and I thought she looks like somebody's mum or somebody's granny, and she's. But what I noticed was the attention the children were giving, and I thought this is extraordinary. The attention the children are giving to this. So I will find out more about it. So that was my beginning. So starting with theatre, starting with all the things you might expect. I was particularly interested in, absurdist plays and as well as Shakespeare, which is not the only playwright, even though he's great. But it was when I suddenly realised about how it could be used for learning that I got very interested and went into teaching, and I always used it. So
Patrice, I have a lot of questions to ask, a lot of curiosities. I mean, and now I think like the moment you enter in a classroom or to a new group, like what are the first things you notice quickly so that you can build up your session? May I know that a little?
I mean, it depends what the group is. It depends if it's a class of children I don't know, or if it was a class of children I do know, or if it's teachers who want to do drama, or teachers who've been sent to do it, or it just and whether they're experienced drama teachers, whether they're theatre practitioners. It depends what the group is, but you have to sense the group. And I usually do one or two activities, and also I do a lot of teacher training. So I usually explain drama first and drama for learning before we start working practically. And one of the things that
Okay.
I know I do, and I've been told I do when I'm working with teachers, is I don't just do it. I constantly start explain why I'm doing it this way, what difference it would
Mm.
make if I did it that way. And I want teachers to not just know some techniques, but I want them to understand what they might do and how they can use them differently. With children, I think again it depends whether they've had experience already of drama or whether or not it's something completely new to them. And I negotiate a drama contract with children before I start working with them, really. And basically, I say, and it's interesting because Dorothy Heathcote would never use the word pretend, but I will, and I do, because it's very clear and children know what you mean. And I remember saying to her once, "But we are pretending." And she said, "No, no, we are it." And I said, "No, we're pretending." And I think it's important that children and adults know when they are doing drama and know when they have stopped and stepped away from it. I don't
Yeah.
want it. I'm not comfortable with forms of theatre that you sometimes come across when you don't realise you're taking part in it. I don't think that's okay. So I'm very clear
Mm.
when the drama starts, when the drama stops. We might step in and out of it, talk about it, start it again, whatever. I just need to be clear to my mind that it's a difference, even though you're drawing on real life, reality, and you're bringing your real self to it. The great thing about drama is you've got that safe distance because it isn't
Yeah.
actually real. And I think that's very important.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining it separately when you are working with children and when you are working with adults, rather teachers. And you were talking about creating the contract in the beginning. So, do you do you accept conducting drama workshops like 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, or you go for longer days? What do people demand, and how does it work for you? What do you like? Like someone say, like, how many days we want to get trained, or we want you to take to our children? Then how do you respond to this question?
Again, every group is different. I mean, there's an ideal and then there's the real world and having to fit around what people can manage to do. I mean, it's interesting because education has changed so much. So when I first started teaching, I mean, it may sound strange, I could spend as long as I wanted on doing drama. Nobody would stop me. I mean, I could just do it.
Yeah.
And in 1979, 1980, there was a film of me, which I've got somewhere on video, haven't watched it for decades, um, when I spent a whole week doing drama with children, which would now be, which is termed Mantle of the Expert, which is one way of approaching it. And I remember doing that and having it filmed by the Education Authority. Um, and I had the freedom to do that. But then the national curriculum came in, and then there were very clear expectations about what children had to know. And when it first came in, it was what they know, what they're developing their skills and their understanding. And then gradually, with assessment, within school inspection, with all sorts of things that have changed the way education is, I still think it's perfectly possible to use drama as a way of learning. But you've got an accountability that wasn't there before. And in England, um, we've got academy chains now, which are like businesses, really. They're like silos. So the local authority went, and I was a local authority arts advisor. So I was responsible for drama. I was a head teacher first, and then I was a local authority arts advisor. So I had responsibility for it within the schools, but local authorities have lost their advisors, really, and they've been very much shrunk. And it's the whole model of education has changed, but it's still possible if you're determined enough. You can still do it if you connect with the right people who have that same understanding and vision. So,
Yeah.
I
So,
remember saying,
well,
you can give me anything you want to teach, just don't tell me how to teach it. And I would never teach it the same way twice because it's with different children or different teachers. You have to understand and sense the room and adjust according to what you're given and what's said, and you sense it. And that is, I can remember when I first started writing some lesson plans for the BBC, for the British Broadcasting Corporation, for the radio. And I remember saying to Jonathan Neelands, who was a very well known drama practitioner, I'm a bit worried about giving teachers drama lesson plans because you have to listen to the children and change depending upon what's said. And he said, Patrice, we all started with somebody else's lesson plans. And I thought, well, that's true. There's the starting point. So yes, that made it okay for me to write lesson plans and share them. Yeah.
how do you uh, start building trust or engagement, especially when the participants do not know each other and they do not have any experience of drama? Then how do you do to build trust and engagement?
Yeah. I mean, I get across quite early on that we're being serious about it. It's not just a muck about, because to be fair, some people are nervous of drama. And when people are nervous, then you
Yeah.
get fear, flock, or flight. You get certain behaviors. So I think it's
Yeah.
important that they are safe. They stay present.
Yes.
They may contribute. I don't force them. I don't put them on the spot, but they stay present and they don't do anything that messes it up. Is the gist of it. And I say to the group, I might say this to a class of children or a class of teachers: what's drama? Tell me what drama is. And of course, what they say will vary depending on the experiences they've already had. And they will say things, and they'll all be valid, I'm sure. Yes, that's one way of describing it. It's when you pretend, yes, you could describe it that way. It's when you perform on a stage. Yes, sometimes you're performing it on a stage. And I try to get this, and I say, that's drama. And then I say, can I ask you 3 questions? And I say, do you
Hmm.
ever pretend to be somebody else? And
Mm.
yes, people usually know, unless they're on the autistic spectrum. That's another thing. Yes. I say, do you ever pretend to be somewhere else? Yes. Do you ever
Okay.
pretend there's something happening, but it isn't happening really? Yeah. Then now we know what we're talking about. And then I say, can we call that drama? So it's when you
Huh.
pretend to be somebody else, you pretend to be somewhere else, you pretend something's happening. It's not happening really, but we're doing it seriously, you know? And then I say, what messes it up? What stops it from working? And again, because it links with dramatic play, they know what messes it up. So they might say, well, it's when somebody doesn't take it seriously, or, you know, and I say, yep. So what can we all agree that we will do to try and keep this pretend going? And then together we're negotiating a contract where they own it as well. It's not me saying, obey this, do this. It's not that. It's like, how can we together make this work? And I sometimes introduce an activity called the drama balloon. I think I made it up, but I may not have done. I can't remember. Um, and I have an imaginary balloon, ball balloon thing. And I say, right, we're going to throw we get into a circle and we throw the balloon, this imaginary balloon. I say, we've got to be really careful that there's only one balloon, that it doesn't get dropped, it doesn't multiply. Let's see if together we can keep one balloon in the air. And they concentrate. The concentration is amazing to do that. And then I say, I think you're going to be really good at drama because you managed to keep that balloon in the air. That's fantastic. And it's a collaborative thing. So then if I do find that somebody's not taking it seriously, I quietly say balloon. And it's a reminder. And to be honest, it's very rare that there's a class or a situation or a child where you really can't make something work. But of course, I mean, I've also worked with special schools. There will be times when there are children who've got particular difficulties or whatever. So I have to take them all individually and see what, people are individuals as well. So I've got some general rules and ways of working. But yeah, it would depend. So
Yeah.
children on the
Yeah.
autistic spectrum, for example, they find it quite difficult to imagine something when it's not real because they just think you're lying. I mean, it's not there. She's talking rubbish. She's lying. Um, um, anyway, very good at imitation and mimicry usually.
Yeah.
But it's a collaborative. It only works if you because I'm talking about whole class drama where we enter an imagined world together. That's how we do our learning through drama. And it needs everyone to support that. And if it doesn't, when it was my own class, when I was a head teacher, it was great because we had it in every class in the school. But if it wasn't going, I'd sometimes say, should we leave it today? Because if we aren't going to really do it very seriously, if we can't really, it's better to leave it till we can. Oh no, please, can we do it? Please. But usually, once they get it and they relax into it and they feel safe, it's amazing what you can achieve with drama for learning.
Lovely, lovely. Interesting to know all this. And thanks for sharing all this. And now I want to jump to the question of why drama is so powerful. Like people, uh, many people, most of the people rather in our education system do not believe that drama can be so powerful tool of transformation, tool of change. But what your study or your long experience is, what happens actually that makes it work, that makes it click?
I mean, I think the problem with education, which is just an unbelievable thing to say, is it ignores the way the brain works, which seems absolutely stupid to me. But there we go. And the fact that the brain is connected to the body. I mean, we aren't
Yeah.
just educating a head. So I would think the whole seed of this, but it has to be at an age appropriate level, is if you look at what children do naturally before they enter this strange place called school. And I think screens and all sorts of things have changed. That's another issue. But the natural thing in any culture in the world will be that children will first of all imitate and mimic because it's the first learning style. Even babies do that. We're wired to do that. And then they will start to imitate and mimic away from the person so that it's not just happening there. The brain is social. So soon they will start to do that with somebody else in a way which causes quite a lot of friction sometimes while they're learning to get on with other people, because it does that as well. Sometimes an adult will join in alongside them in a pretend or imaginary situation at their pretend shop or whatever it is. So dramatic play is the source of it. And children are doing that perfectly well, a lot of them, until they enter this thing called school. And if the school is good, I hope they will carry on doing that through the early years. But too often and too early, it becomes sit still, be quiet, learn this, we'll test you on it. And the brain is plastic, neuroplastic, it will change. So we will produce obedient or else we'll produce truancy, which is we have a big problem with truancy. I'm not surprised. I've said, if school was really interesting and exciting, the children would turn up, wouldn't they? So, I just think we're educating a lot of the time in a way that is not how the brain works. And I know from working with classes of children, as soon as you start to work in a way, and, once they get it, they can do it. And it's also what's interesting is they've already been doing it. And some children come to the fore. You notice that some children do brilliantly in drama for learning, imagined whole class drama, and they're not always the ones that are academically up there, but they might be the ones that have got the most creative imaginations. And I've noticed that some of the academically successful children want some of the more creative ones in their group when they're working together through drama. So you have to start looking and valuing children for a whole range of things and not just their maths and English results. um, but also teachers need to understand it. And, and I actually, my last book was, I put drama in inverted commas. I put 40 plus drama in inverted commas, drama strategies to deepen whole class learning. So you don't need to be a drama teacher. You can use some of the techniques. Doesn't have to be a drama lesson. You might use some drama methodology within another lesson. At least it gets people on the ladder where they start to see what it can achieve and start to use it, maybe, instead of jumping straight into whole class drama.
You said drama, and that's interesting. And I was putting this question for later, but now I want to ask right here. You have also a book, Drama and Theater. And when we are uh, talking about the field of drama in education, we separate the meaning or the connotation of both these words, drama and theater. And some people say, don't bother about that. This is one and the same thing. But how do you define them for ordinary drama in educational drama people? The words drama and theater. How do you put them?
I don't think they are quite the same thing, but I don't have a problem with, I want both. um, and if you go back to England when I first started teaching, it was really annoying actually, because there was a
Uh-huh.
big um, rift, which was very
Yeah.
unhelpful between drama and theatre, and it was very, very annoying. So you've got the people who were drama for learning, or drama in education, as it was then called, who might be working in the way of Heathcote, or previous to Heathcote, Harriet Finlay, working in that way. And then you've got people who said, no, theatre performance, it's all, and what, that's just something else over there. I don't think that's very helpful. It's just territorial and doesn't help anybody. But it has got in the way quite often during over the years in terms of getting drama in the curriculum. So, for example, I do know that at one point when we were fighting for drama as a subject in the curriculum, we were told it's just a pedagogy. Well, it isn't just a pedagogy. It's a great pedagogy, but it's also a main art form. It's both. And when I work, I used to work in the drama for learning style, but I actually do both, because if I am going to, I do use theatre and drama for learning. But the reason is not because I'm putting them on the stage and we can all clap and invite an external audience, which is a perfectly valid thing to do. I want the children to have that experience as well. But in most of my lessons, if we are performing or presenting something, it's because I want the children to think it through together, find a way of communicating it to the others, make sure that they can be heard and they can be seen, and we have to give them our full attention if they're showing us. So I'm developing theatre skills, although my reason for doing so and the skills around it are life skills, really. Um, so I don't see it as being an either or, and I don't think an either or is helpful. And also, I think my own practice, I think practice has to develop. There's no point in replicating stuff from 40 or 50 years ago. It's just not the point. You can't, because the children aren't the same. The world's not the same. Everything's very
Yeah.
different. So it's adaptability that really, really matters. And I've been very fortunate because I've actually, when I was chair of national drama, particularly, but over many years, I've attended dozens, hundreds probably of drama conferences with really good practitioners that I've been able to attend their workshops as well as deliver my own. And it's fascinating. It becomes something I think your practice has to develop. And there was a time in when I was the arts advisor and I set up a long-term drama course, and I ran it with somebody called Rob John, who was a secondary drama teacher, theatre educator for 16 to 18-year-olds. When I was working mainly with primary, but we worked together. There was no problem with it. We just worked together and we created our work. We wrote a book together, Inspiring Writing Through Drama. I think you've got to be open to what you can learn from each other and working collaboratively, and then your own practice will really develop. And I think that's important because if practice didn't develop, we'd all be stuck in Victorian times here, which wouldn't be a good idea. We might be going back to them, I think. But yeah.
It's you have been arts advisor, and that makes me very excited about asking question related to arts. I mean, when I say arts, I mean dance, music, and
Mm.
even literature. So, what I just want to know about this role of arts advisor. What was it, and did it have to do something with all arts, and how drama was helping in it, and what was it, and what was your role? That will be interesting to know to me.
I mean, they kept changing my title every time they reorganized. So I was working for a local authority. I was working for
Yeah.
Norfolk. I had already been a head teacher, and then I applied for a job. I can't remember what they called it to begin with, but basically it was. I can't remember. They changed it about 3 times, but I was responsible for the arts in schools in Norfolk, which is a county in England, and that was all arts. And
All arts.
but I also, and this is the slightly sticky bit, I suppose, my title was and school improvement. So I was working for a school improvement service,
Okay.
and I was doing both jobs. It's 2 jobs, but there's no problem because you can improve school through the arts.
Hmm.
And I want to improve the arts in schools. But I also
Hmm.
had a part of my job was going into schools, not about the arts, but going into schools and just making them better, and performance management of head teachers and setting targets and the government stuff. But my passion, I am passionate about schools being good, but also I was responsible for the arts, and that included a music service. So one of the first things I had to do was reorganize the music service so that it wasn't just instrumental tuition, it was also whole class. I wanted whole class music happening. Um, the same thing, of course, local government. Above that is the national government. So stuff was coming down from the national government to the local government. It's filters through.
Okay.
And so,
Hmm.
whatever the national curriculum was, there were things you had to do, and I had to make sure they were done. And there's the challenge is because actually a lot of schools don't do, even though they should, what is in the national curriculum. And dance has been put inside physical education. I don't think it should be. Um, Music stands in its own right and is the most profitable
Hmm.
industrially. Drama has been stuck inside English and not had its attention paid to it. And there have been times over the years when we've thought, oh, it's going to be okay. And then we get a shift, we get a change of government, a change of policy, and you're battling again against the tide. So we're battling against the
Hmm.
tide at the moment because we've just had a refreshed curriculum, which doesn't do much for drama at all, to be honest. So there we go.
So, when it comes about drama, we can put it in inverted, but can we do this to music, dance, or it doesn't need to do that way? Can we put them like that as we do in drama? Or like what I mean is in drama, we say that you can do this stuff without being an expert or practitioner of drama. So are there things they are encouraged to do even without they have studied music or dance? Do they work on that side or not? They have to be a music teacher, because I believe a lot can be done even if you are not a music teacher or dance teacher. But what is the real scene actually where you are an arts advisor? And it is very interesting, like there is someone as arts advisor we don't have here in any form, right? So please tell me.
Okay. Well, again, it makes a difference whether it's primary or secondary school, because in primary
Okay.
school, it's less likely that you're going to have art, music, dance, drama specialists. That's unlikely. You might be lucky, but
Yeah.
sorry. It's
Yeah.
even less likely it's the head teacher, because they're usually maths and English specialists, um,
Mhm.
and disproportionately men, I would say. Um,
Mhm.
so, yeah, there's all sorts of things. And in also, I would say in secondary schools, part of our problem has been where you've got English teachers, but they're not really drama teachers. They just read Shakespeare and understand text. But it depends, and in different parts of the United Kingdom, it is different. So I'm actually Welsh, but living in England. Um, so in Wales, in Scotland, in Northern Ireland, they had the arts together as equal status, and we nearly did in England. Now that would have mattered because then you get the training. Because what when you put something somewhere, it has an impact.
Yeah.
And yes, I take your point. Certainly, a lot of people, and even more now, I would say, a lot of primary teachers are not arts specialists at all. So I would say, so what are you going to do about it then? You can't just say,
Yeah.
oh, I can't teach it then because I'm not it. So I won't accept
Mm.
that one. So that was what I mean. At one point, I set up, I mean, this is an example to do with drama. I set up when I was the arts advisor and I was also the chair of national drama. I set up something called D4LC, which was drama for learning and creativity. And it was when we were starting to have some attention paid to creativity, but nationally. Um, and what was good then was we worked primary and secondary together, because my other concern is when you get secondary drama specialists or art specialists who go into primary school and they bring their subject, but they may not understand primary children. And I actually think it should be the other way around, that we take the child, I'm about children, we take the child, we develop it through, and what does it look like when it's ideal, and how are we going to make that happen? And so, yes, I did have primary and second. I set up quite a significant project which had over 300 schools involved in the end and was funded nationally and by the local authority and had the support of the Arts Council and all sorts of things, because it was research based and it involved training at different levels, where you'd got a long term drama course that was free, you'd got a training for everybody, and then somebody came into school and worked with your class, with you taking part. And then they came back into school and you led the lesson and they supported you and fed back. The head teacher had to be involved. It had to be part of the school improvement initiative. I mean, I could explain it all, but it would take quite a while. But it was highly successful. And then we had an election. And if I'm honest, I just realised what was going on, and at that point, I left. And that's when I became
Okay.
president of IDEA, because I was
Mm.
determined. But yes, and what I'm finding now, which is great, is that some of the teachers that were involved in that have become head teachers, or they've become heads of academy chains, and they get it. They understand this is actually improving teaching through the arts, through drama. And so I still do quite a lot of training with people who were teachers, young teachers when I started working with them, but can see that it's actually about improving teaching and making it much more interactive. So, and embodied, it's multisensory and it's more memorable because we're using our bodies and they care about it. It's not boring. They just actually feel emotionally engaged, even if it's an imaginary situation. So,
Yeah. So you mentioned, I had to ask about this, but you have already mentioned this D4LC, drama for learning and creativity. So why did we need to put creativity? One will argue that learning comprises everything, but what was what was in your mind or in the mind of people who are working in this project? Why did we put creativity? I know I go for it myself, but what was in your mind and how people were responding to it? Because not everybody understand this language of creativity, because the most popular words among parents or guardians of children are like confidence, personality development, creativity. So what was it and how did it work? Just throw some light on this, please.
Well, I believe that we should actually help develop all types of thinking.
Yeah.
And at the basic, there should be creative and critical thinking. And I think that a lot of what we do with education discourages creative thinking because it's what's the answer? Are you right or wrong? Do you get the mark or don't you? That doesn't actually support creative thinking. Teachers that aren't thinking in particular ways, who just think there's one right answer, that's not supporting children to think creatively. Um, if I'm honest, I mean, I'm very into creativity, but I think my memory of it is that when I became an arts advisor, and I can't remember the years involved in all this, but there was a big national initiative we had at one point in this country, which I would say had some success, but not what one would hope overall. And it was called Creative Partnerships. And it was about, so there was a period of time where a lot of money, billions of pounds, I think, was thrown at a national initiative. And when I was the arts advisor, my area became one of the pilot areas for it. We were chosen as one of the ones to try it out with. And what it did was it linked creative organisations and arts organisations and practitioners with schools to work with the teachers. Now, that's all fine and good. It was very variable, I'll say. There were some places where it was highly successful, often when the school was quite clued up as to what they wanted and it got people in it that were that way inclined to start with. And different authority. Anyway, it was different depending upon where it was. But the sad thing was the legacy, because when it finished, it was almost like, well, no, there's no money. That's the end of that then. Well, that shouldn't have been. There should have been a legacy to it where it continues and develops. And it's interesting because at the moment we're just about to have a new national, I can't remember what they're calling it now. Oh, Music and the Arts National Centre or something. And one of the things I get cross about is when music is separated from the arts. And I keep on saying it. Why would you say music and the arts? Music is a main art form, but they keep separating it out. And I asked somebody once who was very knowledgeable, I said, why is that? They said it makes the most money. I don't wish to be cynical, but to my
Okay.
mind, it's a major art form and they should all be equal status. Um, and it's interesting because I've written more than one curriculum, but one of the curriculums I wrote was for Sir Jim. I wrote the drama part in Understanding the Arts for Sir Jim Rose. And it was a curriculum that schools had in their hands. And it wasn't just the arts, it was a whole primary curriculum. But for the first time, the arts was pretty much the best it had been. And even before the change of government, the other two parties just voted it out. And then came the real take it back to the basics straight after. And it's such a sad thing because it's far better than anything we've had since. I'm biased, but it was. And now, as I say, very disappointing what's happening now, I think, but there we go. So,
Yeah,
but I
but
just think
I think,
we are creative thinkers. And you think about the problems going on in the world. If you haven't got creative thinking, if that we need children, we're preparing children for a world. They don't know what the world is. We don't know what problems we're going to
yeah,
encounter. We need children that are thinkers. And I saw some awful thing on Facebook the other day, which was horribly true. You don't educate children to overthrow you. And I just worry about the misuse of education. And also, we've got the online education now, which has got, during the pandemic, that's fine. And I did a lot during the pandemic with drama for the Oak National Academy, and that's fine. But it's not the same as a live person in a room with all the social interaction and the getting on with other people. We shouldn't be replacing things with screens. We should be doing both. So,
yeah, we should be doing both. That is what I also want to. say, because otherwise I would not have been talking to you if we ignore this medium. So yes, you were talking about art partnerships. I think I have witnessed part of it when I was studying in University of Exeter. It was happening around 2009 and 10, 9 and 10.
Ah,
And then I think in somewhere you were working with, you were in touch with, or UK was taking the services of Sir Kane Robinson also.
Ken Robinson originally was at the University of Warwick. In fact, I got Ken to come and do something once for Norfolk head teachers. Um, yeah, he
Because
did
when you
have an
talk about
influence.
creativity, that name comes to me very,
There was a
I mean,
report of creativity, culture, and education. It might
culture.
have
Yeah.
been, and there was a report which I've got somewhere on my shelf, which was Ken Robinson. I think he cleared off to live in America after, but I could be wrong. Um, and it's interesting because the report, it was just as I became the arts advisor, and I was really optimistic. And I think creative partnerships was probably as a result of that report, because there, when I took that position on, I was thinking, what a fantastic time to be doing it, because creativity is coming on the agenda, and then creative partnerships came. But it did very much come to be about infrastructure, linking arts with industry, uh, industry driven CPD. I haven't got a problem with that, but it's not, it shouldn't be, it, it's all the wrong way around. We need art specialist teachers in schools, not just people that pass through schools when the money's there. So good partnerships are fantastic. But of course, they cost money and they take time, don't they? And you've got an overcrowded curriculum, a limited amount of money. And if they can provide it, I mean, at the moment, I know locally somebody that was a pupil of mine when she was 7 or 8 years old has just ended up in charge of drama with something quite significant. I thought, great. And it's for a theatre there. She is a qualified teacher, and I think I know it'll be really good. But then I also know there have been times in different circumstances, different people do, and you just think, no, you're just doing this between acting jobs. You don't really want to do it, do you? So it just depends on the quality of what you get, doesn't it? I'm interested. I didn't know you went to Exeter. Was that John Summers? Or has he gone by?
Yeah, I don't want to talk it about it right now, but I was
Oh
there
no, it's
for a
interesting.
short
I
term,
didn't.
right?
Yeah,
I
no,
will
I
talk
did
it
some stuff at Exeter as well.
off this podcast. Yes, we have not talked about it. And
Right.
meanwhile, I just want to welcome those who are coming or going or sitting there, and especially Mr. Vijay. I think you are there, and you are saying that I have been reading Patrice's books and implementing some ideas from their books. So there is a friend who has been reading your books, and he's mentioning that in the comments. Good. Patrice, I have got a few photographs that allow us to peep into the world of your work, and let's see those photographs, and then I will have a few more questions related to those photographs. So allow me a few seconds to bring in those photographs. Here they are. All right, so there we are. This we have seen, and this we have seen. I like this photograph so very much, right?
Yeah.
And is that you in this picture?
Yes, that's me looking younger and slimmer with less wrinkles.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. And exactly what's happening at this moment? Just want to know.
To be honest,
And
it's a
what
long
has
time
happened
ago.
before this? This is day one, or what is happening there? Yes, please.
This interesting this because this was, I think, my own school, and I
Okay.
think, so I'm thinking it's the hall in my own school. I might be wrong. It might not be. It might have been in somebody else's
Yeah. Yeah.
school. I'm not sure.
All right. No problem.
I can't, to be honest, I can't remember the lesson. Um, what's interesting is I've just been attending something, which is where I went attended a weekend of theatre work, where the people they call it box theatre, and all the theatre takes place on two mats. And when I saw this photograph again the other day, I thought, oh, I've been doing that, but it was on three mats. I don't use, I don't honestly remember the lesson. I just look at it and think, oh, to be young again. Um, but it was it was when I wrote my first book, well, it wasn't my first book actually. My first book, the local authority enabled me to write, and it was published by Norfolk County Council. The second book was Collins Educational, and it's before computers and internet. It was the drama
This
box, and inside was the drama book, and this was one of the lessons that they came and filmed and photographed and things. But I can't remember what the lesson was. I'm sorry. I look like they're enjoying it, so that's the main thing.
so, I have a question while we are watching this picture. Like, is there something you do almost instinctively rather, which you didn't do in early years, but now it comes to you naturally?
Well, I'm not sure, and I think it depends whether or not you're working with. I mean, I used to work much more with children that I knew,
Uh-huh.
whereas it depends whether you know the children or not, because I think you've got to get them working collectively, collaboratively, and as a group. And if they're your own class, you've got them doing it already pretty much. Whereas if it's a class you don't know, I've mentioned the drama contract, but there's just one. I just do one or two activities
Yeah.
that get us working together and say, "Oh, well done! I work on the positive." Um, so I don't know. I work
All
very
right.
instinctively. I have a toolbox. I'm not saying I don't have a toolbox, but I have to work with how the children are behaving, what I think I need to do. What I don't like, and I know I've said it before, I don't like it when I see lessons that are nothing but game, 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 game. I just think, why? I just think, and I know I've said this before too, I just say, well, get some balloons and call it a party. Because I often see stuff I don't really think is drama. I just think it's a bunch of drama games. And I want to, this is a school inspector in me too, because I was also a school inspector, sorry. But I sort of think, okay, why are you doing that? Why are you doing it? And if there's a good reason, that's absolutely fine. But sometimes I think people just have got a book of games or a book of activities or a book of whatever, and they just do it. That's very limited. What happens when you get to the end of the book? You've got to be a thinking teacher, and you need to develop as a teacher the whole time, I think. So,
So, yes, why? And drama session many times looks like games after games after games. Um, but then sometimes a new practitioner asks, uh, like drama or theater, you said it does not matter much for you, like which term, I mean, the work you are doing and the sense you are making is more important. In the same way, do you differ among these words like games, activity, drama, game, exercise? Do you have particular use of these words, or anything is game? Every game is an activity also. Oh,
I don't really mind what they call it as long as they've got a purpose for doing it. And as long as they aren't using it as a way of not getting on with the real drama. Because I think sometimes, especially if you're watching a lesson, I mean, I remember watching a lesson once and it was nothing but games. And I said to the teacher, why are you doing so many games? And she said, that's what I do for the first term. I thought, what? I thought that doesn't make any sense. Um, but if you've got a very good reason for doing it, and there are good reasons for doing it, but it shouldn't take up the whole lesson. It should be as and I also think you can use them. I do use them sometimes, but I also adapt them so that they fit what it is I know the lesson's going to be about. Or sometimes I use a game in the middle of a lesson. So sometimes, there's a game, I don't know if you know it, Keeper of the Keys, where you have to try and sneak up and steal the keys from behind the person. Okay, that's a
yeah.
children's game. But sometimes I put it into a drama where there's been something we need to do and we need to go and get it. And I'm using the game within the drama. Um, so yes, but it's just the lessons that are nothing but games and teachers don't know why. And they just think, I've run out of that book, I'll get book two now. And I think you're not doing drama, you're just doing loads of games. Um, and as I say, do them when you need to for a purpose, but don't do nothing else. So,
All right. Good to know that. I mean, you should be clear about your why. Why are you doing it? That's more important, right?
why are you choosing this one instead of that one? Because there should be a reason, not that it's the next page. And then you might adapt it depending upon what you think, that you choose the game depending upon what the children need. So, is it a game that requires listening? Is it a game that, you choose the game? Um, And don't spend too long on games is my advice. Fun as they
Yeah.
are.
So let's go back to the photographs. There are many more photographs I have. Oh, this is again you, right? And this is a
That was
D4LC,
You'll see it
and you
says
have
phase
already,
three there. Yeah, it went on for either 3 or 4 years. It wasn't just every year we had new schools becoming involved, and some of them asking if they could stay involved. And you can see from the logos, Arts Council England became involved, Creative Partnerships were
yes,
involved,
creative
National Endowment for
partnerships.
Science, Technology and the Arts, the Qualifications and Curriculum Authority. It became a very significant thing. And then we had an election.
Hmm. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, so the same thing
Yeah, but
is
that's
there.
interesting because one of the deals was that the teachers had to share an example of their best practice. There were commitments
Okay.
and pledges. First of all, I said, if a teacher doesn't want to be involved in it, don't let them be. I only want teachers that want to do this. And I got all the head teachers together first. And I said, because I had to justify using my time and government money and everything else. And I said, look on your school improvement and development plan and find something you want to improve through drama. And then choose two teachers because I could only afford two from each school. And I wanted them to have people they could talk to each other. Choose two teachers who want to do it. And then we worked with them over a year. And then I said, from the teachers, I said the head has to monitor what difference it's making. So they were monitoring the school improvement. I said, and the head teacher, they took part in planning sessions and all sorts. And it had a real buzz about it. It was really growing. And the deal was, I want everybody to share an example of their best practice, something they were particularly pleased with. So I ended up with hundreds of drama lessons. I've still got them. Hundreds of drama lessons where teachers shared their best lesson using a particular pro forma. And this is we were only just getting into the electronic bit as much as we are now, but there was an actual hard folder that went to all the schools involved and all the schools, so full of lessons. And at one point, I had a website for it all, and you could get the lessons online. And I keep meaning to put these lessons back online on the D4LC Facebook page, which isn't really D4LC anymore, to be honest. That's just a lot of people who are interested in, it's just grown from it. But still got all the lessons, and I at some point ought to put them all up somewhere so that they could be accessed by people because there's lots of good lessons in there.
So when it was a beautiful journey and very meaningful work was done, but when it ended up now, so it discontinued, or some parts, some practices are going on, they were benefited by it, or everything has faded away now.
Well, one of the things that happened, which was another thing, because IDEA, the International Drama Theatre Education Association,
Yeah.
adopted it as an IDEA project. So they took it on. I took it to
Okay.
South Korea to UNESCO's second World Creativity Summit, and I presented D4LC at that. Iceland took it on and they called it Sniggle. I don't know why. Um, and I went to Iceland, and it did have a real growth and a spread to it. I presented it in Germany at an arts conference. I went presented it in many countries actually, and it did actually have a real growth. But people took from it what they wanted probably and developed it in any way they wished. I didn't sort of lay a heavy, you know, thing on it. You can't do it unless you do. It grew in its own way where it needed to grow, and I was fine about that. Um, yeah, and then I actually developed something myself because I decided to leave the local authority once the well, anyway there was a political change in this country, and I thought, now I've had enough because I know what's going to happen to the arts, and that's going to be miserable, and it did happen. So at that point, I was traveling. I gave it. They were very good, the local authority. They did let me be president of IDEA, and they said, yes, you can go and travel the world and do all that as long as you get the day job done. Um, but after a few months of it, and I just decided let's leave it, and I ended up going voluntary redundancy. I asked to leave, um, but then I set up myself something called Drama for Thought, Talk, and Writing. Because
Okay.
I didn't feel it could be D4LC anymore. But I started working with groups of schools myself, so it carried on in that way for quite a few years. So that was nice with groups of schools.
Okay, well, let's see next picture, please. I think this is
Oh,
the
yeah, that was the
BBC
other thing.
series.
We had teachers' television in this country. So there were television programs that were made for teachers. And I, D4LC became two teachers' television programs. And government got rid of teachers' television. However, you can get them on YouTube, so you can still watch them.
Oh,
And
good. Yes, good.
this person here has actually now become the head teacher of an outstanding school. And last year he got me in to do teacher training of his staff. So it
Oh,
carries on.
nice.
And that was he did a very good lesson, and it was about playground behaviours. There was a big government initiative about behaviour. I can't remember what it was called
Hmm.
now. SEAL, social and emotional aspects of learning. And this guy
Yeah.
John, he did a lesson, and if you watch the lesson, it's 15 minutes long. They've edited it, obviously. And every now and then it swings to me, and I say, "Oh yes, what's happening in this lesson is such and such." But it's John's lesson, and it's worth watching. And it's about playground behaviours, and they use forum theatre in it, where they
Okay.
sort of rewind and try it a different way and try and solve behaviours that are causing problems in the playground. It's very good. So yeah, and then there was another one, sorry, for much younger children, and that was teaching maths through drama. And that they all went off to Storyland. And I haven't sent you any slides for this, but I created something called Storyland, and I do a lot of work with very young children in this imaginary Storyland that we create together. And it's their Storyland, they co-own it, but the teacher knows what learning they want to happen there. So yeah, I've done quite a lot with
Hmm.
Storyland, and that's the other lesson you might see if you type in D4LC maths or
Difference, yeah.
D4LC, they'll come up and you can watch the programs. Yes.
Okay, nice. So those who are interested can watch these videos here on YouTube also, right?
Yeah.
Ah, good.
Oh, that's the
So,
person who did the maths one. Yeah, that's she did the key stage one maths. She did the early years maths. It's her lesson started when the children got a letter from Storyland, and Chef Jeff. She said, "Oh, we've got a letter from Chef Jeff. He's having real problems with his customers. He's got odd bod.
mm,
He'll only eat," and basically the children said, "Oh, we'll go and help," and they went off to
yeah.
Storyland with her. So yes, that's another program that can be watched. Yeah.
Mm. Like you are talking about early math. So now so people sometimes make a general statement that everything, all subjects can be taught through drama. Would you like to do some correction in it or you go with it?
I used to do it, um, and you can do it. And I think you are doing more than one subject when even if you're trying to teach maths through drama, you're doing oracy, and and if you're writing back to Chef Jeff, then actually you're doing English. So I think it's perfectly possible to do cross curricular. The challenge is that we have been given in this country a subject separate curriculum. However, if you've got a creative teacher, they can know what their main learning objectives are for it, and they can approach it through drama, and they can say, well, we could put some writing in here, or there's a possibility. So in Storyland, for example, we all went up in a hot air balloon and we looked down. Well, that was doing geography because we were doing aerial views, which we have to do in geography. so so you can mix it up, just, but it needs the teacher to do some thinking around it. It's not like when I started teaching, you would teach what you wanted for as long as you wanted. You
Sorry.
could do what you like. And then, to be honest, I do think something it needed tightening up a bit, but it just went massively too far. Yeah.
So, is it like one can do it, deal all subjects at primary level or elementary level or at secondary level as well? What do you say?
I think you're very unlikely to get it at secondary level with any. I think the problem now, you've got academy chains in this country. I mean, you can talk
Yeah.
idealistically and you can talk practically about what the reality is. Um, and it's become increasingly, I mean, there's often heads who know how they want to do something, but they can't because the head of the academy chain, which is several schools, wants it done a different way. So the structure is making it more difficult. The curriculum is making it more difficult. It doesn't mean it's impossible,
Yeah.
but I mean, I've had head teachers contact me saying sometimes that they wanted to work in international schools because they don't want to be told how to run their school, or but then there are good academy chains. There are some where schools have got themselves together and they know what they want to do and they're doing it, but it's just very variable. And it was a political change. So, and
Yeah.
it damaged local authorities. It took away the power from local authorities.
Hmm. And this is an interesting photograph.
I don't know where you've got these from. You've got
I had to
Oh, I know what that is. Oh, yes, that's supplementary
steal
schools.
one photograph.
I remember this one, yeah. Ah, yeah.
Oh, you
Um, I'm working, yes, I was working for probably about 3 years or so with supplementary schools, which are culture schools, which meet on a Saturday where the children, bless them, they've been working hard at school all week. And then on Saturday, they go to their culture school. So I worked with Lebanese, Sudanese, Persian, Chinese, different culture schools. And the idea was they were bringing me in to try to help the teaching become more creative and more active. Because a lot of the people who work in them are not necessarily qualified teachers, they're people from the community who will teach as they were taught. And then gets ethically tricky. I was saying, give me a story, give me one of your stories, your cultural stories, which always, of course, you own your cultural stories. But I thought, I want to work with something I know they're going to use. So they would give me a story from their culture. I would approach it through drama with them taking part. And then hopefully they were doing it then within their schools, which someone else was monitoring. And at certain schools, for example, the Persian school, I actually went in and watched lessons and fed back to the teachers. And it's an ongoing project. And yeah, I think it's a really good project. Somebody called Mon Partovi, who did her degree. I think she's doing her PhD, or she's done it. I think she's already done it at Warwick University, which yeah, it's her a project she set up through the National Centre for Resources in Supplementary Education, and it's now been taken over by I can't remember youth youth I can't remember, but the bottom line is she's doing this really good work, and we wrote about it together and published it in Theatre and Drama magazine, and I think it's an ongoing project. But yeah, great. So I only did it with London schools. Um, and yeah, very interesting project. Lovely. And what was lovely, the nicest evaluation I've ever had. I actually ended up working with some children last time I did it. In can't remember which part, in Brent in London, and a lot of teachers were watching my lesson. I got them involved with the children as well, which was lovely. And then at the end, just as I was leaving, some child came up to me and she said, "Thank you. I really enjoyed that." And I thought, that's the best evaluation.
yeah.
It was lovely.
Uh, so, but then as a practitioner, you try to make the meaning and do you try to make the purpose clear and you work on that, but it's still not still, I mean, but you always like when the learner says that they enjoyed the process, right? They were engaged. That is always there, you know? And this, when you work with teachers, I mean, I'm sure it's not always possible to work with them again and again due to many organizational things to arrange of arrangement and many other things. But many of them, who I think, would like to keep in touch with you. They must have been trying. Then how do you manage? Because you have such a long career of working with them, and then doesn't it become difficult to respond to them? And because in a 3 day or 5 day theater workshop, they become very close, and we in our drama or theater workshops, we like uh, starting each other's company, and we want to keep that. we want to continue that. How do you deal with that? You respond or do not respond, or how do you manage that? That's a big thing for me. I mean, how to do manage
I
that?
do usually respond. If I get sometimes I get cold requests where I don't think the person knows me at all, and I respond to some, I don't respond to others. If it's somebody I've worked with, it depends what I think they're doing. But if I've worked with people, quite often I have students contacting me who are writing PhDs or they're doing, and
Yeah.
they want to talk to me, and I usually will do a Zoom. I don't want to sit and write loads of stuff to them. It takes too long, and I don't want to do it. But I'm happy to talk to them. So sometimes I'm talking to somebody tomorrow, actually. Sometimes that's a slightly different thing, but anyway. But I will. I'm happy to have conversations, Zoomy conversations with people who are working academically on something and just want to chat and a few quotes and things. I do that. Sometimes when I've worked with schools, I really, it really has, especially if you're only working with them once. And that worries me because I actually think it's a shame not to work with them more, because I think teachers need to go away and try it out. And then
Yeah.
they need to be able to say, well, I tried this and that didn't really work very well. And I can talk to them about it, or this worked well, and then a bit more training. So I always prefer at least twice. But part of the problem in this country is schools have got no money. So, it becomes difficult when it's, your time is money, isn't it? But I usually say to them afterwards, you can contact me and I will happily have a telephone chat or a Zoom, or I'll send them some more lessons or something. I'll try and make them feel that there's still some support. And when I did the supplementary school work, I also did some online follow up. So the teachers, because I asked for this, so the teachers went off after the training day, and then they came back online to report on how it had gone, because I don't live in London. So you could, just online is quite a good way of doing support now, after you've done a training day. And that didn't really exist before, because obviously I work in different places. So that's good. And also, I was going to say internationally, what you just said, Shuba, is interesting, because during the pandemic, I had a lot of people attending my training that was online, and they were attending from all over the world. And people in Australia were saying, can you do one for us separately? Because we're getting up at stupid hours of the morning. But one of the really good things is you can actually, it's not the same as being in a classroom working together, which I love, but it is doing what you said. It's enabling conversations to take place internationally that wouldn't be able to happen in the same way, and other people to join in on them, which is fantastic. So we need all of it, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go to the next picture. This is related to what?
And that was South Korea. And
Okay.
that was what the UNESCO Second World Arts in Education Conference, after I'd presented D4LC, and then I ended up being filmed. And I found that sometimes, I think it happened to me in Hungary as well. I think I was on the radio, and I was in Canada, and I suddenly found I was on the radio. Anyway,
Okay.
it's fine. But that one was South Korea, I think.
Okay.
Oh, no, this is interesting. Right. People may not know who this person is at all, and I worked with him for several years occasionally. It's in this country, we did have something called the national strategies that came out for a while after the national curriculum. And lots of, apparently they were voluntary, they were not compulsory, but they were really. They felt like they were. And anyway, this is somebody called Pi Corbett who worked with the national strategies. And then when the national strategies finished, there was something called Talk for Writing, and he took it and developed it further. And I was working with some schools, with a local authority in Wales, and he was working on improving writing through his particular method, which was from a national strategy. And I was working in the same area with the same teachers, but I was working through drama, but we hadn't met. And I got
Okay.
invited by the advisor to come and listen to him presenting Talk for Writing to the same teachers I'd been working with. And I thought, yeah, I can see what he's doing. I understand that. I thought, but actually, if we brought drama to it, I could see that actually that could generate a lot. Anyway, basically, I went to him afterwards and I said, have you thought about using drama with this? And he was open to the idea, so that was good. I think his son's an actor, and his daughter, I think, may even be a drama teacher. He was very pro drama, so he said okay. And for several years, we worked all over the country, actually, just once or twice a term with what we call talk and drama for writing. And he would sometimes give me the text, and we found out what worked best. It was if they came to, we were working with the same teachers, but separately. If they came to drama first, and through the drama, we generated all sorts of ideas and language, and then we gave it to him, and he applied talk for writing to it. We ended up with some fantastic work. So, yeah, it was very interesting working together for a while. So, yeah, we created talk and drama for writing.
Okay.
Teachers in England will know his work. And
Yeah.
it was originally primary, and then I think it's become secondary as well. And I think he's focusing on other things as
So,
well now.
right.
Oh, yeah.
So in one, if you start talking about it, I know it will take long, but what is the occasion? Just tell me that, please.
Well, it's IDEA, in the International Drama Theatre Education Association. They had a meeting in Rostock. This is before I was president. And you might
Okay.
recognize the present president there as well. If you look, there's Sanya there. She's two to the right from me. And then there's another person who was president standing next to her. So you got through. Anyway, it was people from different countries come into the. Oh, and at the back, you've got Dan Baron Cohen. So there are 4 presidents or ex-presidents there.
All
It was
right.
basically a general council meeting, and it took place in Germany in Rostock, and that was just a gathering, and somebody took a photograph of it, and it's lots of people who are very committed from different parts of the world to the International Drama Theatre
So the
Education.
idea of idea in is to help all the people who are working in mainstream theater or who are working in educational drama or theater. It is open to all fields or something else.
I mean, to be honest, I'm not as connected with it now, but I mean, what I think what I found special about it was it had the word education there. It wasn't just about theatre. A lot of those people, and to be honest, it probably's gone off in different directions depending upon which people are there, but it is drama, theatre, and education. Um, and I guess it will be different in every country, but they come together. The other thing is that sometimes they're working together on joint projects. I Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of people there that are very committed. I was told the next one was going to be in Turkey, but I haven't heard any details of that one yet. We did
Okay.
try to organise one in Turkey before, but sadly we ended up having to postpone that one.
This
Oh,
is
yeah, that was the first big event I did once I became president of IDEA. And I probably
okay.
pronounced this wrong. Stiftung Mercator or Mercator, I don't know how to pronounce it. Basically, were very generous in setting up an arts conference in Germany, and I was invited to give a speech at it. And I'm very well paid for it, but I gave the money to IDEA. So
Right.
yeah, no, that
So
was just where I presented
sorry,
D for
sorry.
LC at it. I think I presented D for LC at it. Yeah.
Hmm. So it says the critical importance of drama for learning is not sufficiently recognized. If you have to share this, what is that not sufficiently recognized? Is that is still there, and what is that in short, which you kept in focus in this in your address?
Well, it's a long time ago. I'm just reading what I wrote. I said drama in education, which is what we used to call it, is essential. So I don't know what else I said on the slide there. It's not sufficiently recognised. It still
Yeah.
isn't. And I think one of the problems, if I'm honest, well, there's all sorts of problems, but is that we've got some parallel practices and language going on, which isn't helpful. Um, and well, basically, we need a lot more training in it, and it's become more difficult
Yes.
to provide training because of the structures that are now in place. It's become more difficult to be strategic about developing training nationally. But a national organisation such as National Drama can offer training if teachers can go to it, and they have done some good conferences. So hopefully they'll continue.
Thank you. And this moment is about
That was lovely. I've probably worked in Turkey more than any other country. They've invited me back again and again, which is fantastic.
uh,
And I've worked in different places in Turkey. And last time I was in Turkey, they gave me a Lifetime Achievement Award for my work with
Oh,
the, I can't
great.
pronounce it probably, Cagnes Drama Dernier. Anyway, they've got it very well organized over a long period of time in Turkey, and they do some really good work. And they gave me this Lifetime Achievement Award. I said, thank you very much, but I haven't finished. it's, it's a bit worrying being given a lifetime
You
achievement. You think,
haven't
God,
finished, and you are doing it with so lot of energy that is inspiring for many present practitioners. I can bet. And this is
well, yeah, I put that up as interesting. That was the last Erasmus project I did, because I don't know what you know
all
about
right.
this, but it's European. And of course, we had a problem here. We had Brexit, which is infuriating, which meant that lots of people I'd been working with in Europe, suddenly I couldn't be a partner in it anymore because we were no longer Europe. However, the good news is just this week, apparently, starting next year, we are now going to have Erasmus projects again, thank goodness. So even though there's been something like a 10 or 12 or even longer year break, it's coming back. So I'm very hopeful that we'll have some more really good projects going. That particular project was about the impact of drama on shy children, which was very interesting.
Just sorry, just want to understand for the people who belong to this part of the world, especially Asia. I need to understand, like when you say Erasmus project, is it government supported? And I'm happy that is still there are such projects going on after that creative partnership and all. But here in India, we do not hear much about such project. But I hear a lot of European practitioners working under such big projects. I think even David Allen has worked under Erasmus project something. He
Yeah,
mentions it somewhere.
I mean, we haven't had Erasmus projects in this country for several years, for quite a few years actually. I don't know
Yeah,
what
maybe
David's
he did
working on.
it few years back.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I have got a Polish friend who actually thought she might be able to get me through her Polish business to, so I don't know what he's doing, but anyway. But in terms of just being somebody going for an Erasmus project, usually you get invited by somebody, some country leads it. They get European funding for it, but we're no longer eligible for it in this country. They get European funding for it, and then the one that I was involved in, I can't remember all the countries. It had Greece, Poland, England, can't remember the others. And then we would go into different countries. And then the pandemic happened. And we'd saved Greece till last. We thought the weather would be wonderful, but we had to do that one online. Um, but yeah, I'm really hopeful that now there'll be more Erasmus projects because we've got some reconnection with Europe that has strengthened
Is
recently.
it government supported? What were you saying about this?
It's European. I don't really understand, to be honest. It's European funding. So I
Okay.
don't know how they're going to organise it going forward. And I think David's wife works at a Polish university, doesn't she? And and in fact, I think I might have done a project with the same university, but a different department, but with the drama department. I can't remember, to be honest. But I don't
Right.
know. I'm not aware that we're eligible yet for Erasmus projects anymore. But there are probably ways round it that I'm not particularly aware of.
Yeah. So we move to the next picture. The Second World Conference.
Yeah, we
Okay.
saw that one.
I
That
want
was
to
the South Korea.
South Korea.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
was
yeah,
in.
this was well, yeah, national drama. We, we did a lot of immediately. I said Ireland, England, Scotland, Wales. So we took D4LC to different parts of the country, and we sort of grew hubs of it all over the place. And those, Anya, bless her, the lady sitting to the left, very sadly died. She was the next chair of national drama after me. I stood down because I want young people to come through. And she was a lot younger than me, but sadly she died very early. And then the
Oh.
lady to the right, Kate, she was my vice chair. I spent last weekend with her. I just went to see her.
Hmm.
Um, but yes, that was when we were doing it. Now this is interesting. My Polish friend, who I also saw last weekend, she was asking me for a long time to write a book with her, and I just was drowning in stuff really. but I ended up doing it. We wrote process drama for second language teaching and learning, which was the title she wanted, which is fine. And I agreed to it in the end because I started to see what was being done in second language teaching with drama, and I didn't think it was moving
Yeah.
much beyond games. So I actually thought, no, I will write a book showing how you can actually do it, with more meaningful lessons, and so that you really feel compelled to speak because it matters. And so, yes, and when last weekend we were talking about writing another book, but I'm trying not to. To work.
So, meanwhile, a few friends or say a few people are commenting. Yes, they have. I mean, they are congratulating for your work. Welcome, Meenakshi ji, Rakesh ji, and Luit Barwa, and Rakesh Jugranji, and Deepesh. Thank you for being there. And if you have any question, Patrice is sitting here. You can ask your questions. Your questions are also welcome. That is an important part of this podcast. Now we go to the next section of pictures. Patrice, we have a few more pictures.
Oh,
And in this section, we have to move a little fast, but there is a challenge for you. Who are they? I know you know them, but you challenge is you have to tell us only one thing
oh, that's
you have
hard.
learned from each of them. Only one thing from each person you will see yourself with. So here we
I
go.
don't know if I can do. Oh, Gavin, Gavin Bolton. Well, I have to say that I think Gavin managed to communicate clearly what Dorothy was about. So, in a sense, I've his books with where he's wrote work, with Dorothy's work. I mean, yes, I learned a lot in
Great.
terms of his thinking around her work. So that's not one thing; it's a big thing, but okay.
Yeah, I know. But here we want only one that comes to your mind first, maybe. And here we go.
Well, this is when I was president of IDEA. These were the music, dance, and drama people, um, and we were working with UNESCO on the arts education roadmap, putting it into practice. We used to occasionally meet and work with UNESCO. So, what did I learn from the
So,
World Alliance for Arts Education? I mean, it's too big a question. I can't come up with one thing. What did I learn?
ah,
Well, David Booth, he's brilliant sense of humour. Bless him, he's died. He once did a wonderful thing at a conference where he put a mask on and pretended to be Dorothy. That was quite funny.
oh,
Um, yeah, I worked at the University of Toronto a few times, and he as his guest, and his and Larry Schwartz, fantastic sense of humour. I would say that he's brilliant with story. He's fantastic with story, and
okay.
yeah, really compelling workshops around narrative. Yeah. All right, this is a conference that when Dorothy Heathcote died, Pam Boel, who was a past chair of national drama, and I was chair at that time, I'm president of IDEA, she created a fantastic conference at University in Greenwich, which a lot of people from around the world came to. And these were just some of the great people. Um, and there's Kathleen Gallagher, David Booth, some woman next to him, that's me, I think. Jude Ackroyd, who's written good stuff for drama and is a great practitioner, and Gavin Bolton. And Dorothy died, and Gavin,
Yeah.
bless him, he was, anyway, I won't go into it because it's personal, but basically he went to a lot of trouble to get to that conference, and I take my hat off to him. It was lovely to see him there. Ah, well, this is one of my favourite children's authors and illustrators, Anthony Brown, fantastic guy. A friend of mine owns a bookshop in Norfolk, and she used to hold fantastic conferences every year and bring brilliant authors to it. And she didn't like to be up front doing it, so she'd get me up front, which was fantastic because I met lots of brilliant children's authors. And I love his books. He's done many good books, and I've done a lot of drama around his books. And there was one called The Tunnel that I've written a lot of stuff around. I won't go into it because there isn't time, but certainly worth looking at his books, which are deeply meaningful, and you can understand them at the age of 5 or 6, but you can take the same book at secondary or adult level and you'll get a lot of depth to it that you'll miss at the age of 5. They're very powerful books. Yeah. I work with picture books
Yeah.
a lot. Oh,
One thing you
Cecily.
learn from her.
Oh, Cecily. Oh God, I can't do this one thing you learned. I can't really do it because it's not. Well, I
And
can say
why
one
I am
very.
that? Okay,
I will say
let me
one thing.
stop here. Let me stop here. Like there is a tradition kind of thing. Like people keep saying that, oh, I learned a lot
Well,
from
I do.
you. I learned a lot from these children. I keep learning. So sorry if it is little odd, but I thought I will create
Well, I'll say
this
one thing
little.
about it. When I started teaching, and in my early days of drama and education, drama for learning, the book I used most was Cecily's, which was Drama Structures. So there was a
Okay,
book, and I told her this recently. We just spent an evening together. We had a lovely time. Because I was one of the judges for the Music and Drama Education Awards, and she got the Lifetime Achievement Award for it. And we spent a fantastic evening together. And we had lots of conversations about things. But I remember there was a lesson in that book about traveling west on the Oregon Trail, and I started working with her lesson plans, and I went my own way with them. But certainly, they were a fantastic support to me when I first started teaching.
yes, thank you for sharing that.
Jonathan, Jonathan Neelands. That's quite funny. He'd had a heart thing operation or something the day before, but he came to Switzerland anyway. You've got to admire him for that. Jonathan, when I was quite a young teacher, he wrote a book with Tony Good, I think it was, Drama Strategies and Conventions. But also, I had the opportunity to work with Jonathan and attend some of his stuff a few times. And I think it's very important. And I know it's difficult, but where I've been so lucky is I have actually attended, as well as delivered, I've attended the work of really good practitioners. And I really don't believe in just following one route. I think you need to develop yourself and follow a range. And they use
Yeah,
different terminologies. Jonathan's terminologies were different to Dorothy's terminologies, so you've got parallel things
yeah.
going on. But they were both great things, and I benefited from both. Um, so yeah, he used to. I'll tell you one great thing. When I was a head teacher, he used to come to Norfolk, which is where I am. He was brought down by the university in Durham or Newcastle, and he wanted a class of children to work with every year. So every year I'd pile a class of children into a mini school minibus. You wouldn't be allowed to do it now. And I'd drive them to Jonathan, and he'd do drama lessons with my children, which was great.
Okay,
And the students from Durham or Newcastle or wherever it was used to come and watch. And so I had this fantastic thing every year of watching him work with my kids, which was great.
wonderful.
Oh, right. Robin Pascoe, he followed me as president of IDEA. He and his lovely wife kindly hosted me when I was working in Perth, which was lovely. And I did some work at his university with some of his students. Yeah, very, very solid, helpful, kind person who I meet from time to time still. And yeah, the person who followed me as president of IDEA.
Great.
Oh, Dorothy. Well, Dorothy and I got to know each other best in our later years, which was interesting because we both worked in Turkey at the same conferences sometimes. And one time I actually travelled with her, but her daughter came and her granddaughter came. And Dorothy, by that time, bless her, travelling was in a wheelchair. And I
Mhm.
was in a queue waiting to go through customs, and got pushed past me by her daughter in a wheelchair. It was lovely. And she turned to me and she said, Patrice, you need to get one of these. I think I might be moving towards it now. But we had some very interesting conversations about all sorts of things. And she also attended one of my workshops. No pressure there then. And we
Oh,
discussed it afterwards, and that was fantastic too. So, yeah, really interesting conversations, very honest conversations, and very worthwhile. And we didn't always agree on things like the word pretend. I still think we should use the word pretend. But no, fantastic practitioner. Um, she also said, which is interesting, that children had changed, and she's right, they have. So lots to be said there, really, but that will always be the case. We'll
yeah.
always move on.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for sharing all this. Uh, and now, with so much of experience and so much practical work and working around the world in many countries and including thousands of teachers, how do you notice changes? How do you say that drama transforms? how do you create your evidences, or how do you tell us how to notice, how to make your notes, and how to note the changes, how you have been doing it, and what you suggest to the practitioners, because you have to know this also. What is the impact or effect of your work? How you have been doing it?
Gosh, I'm not sure I can answer this question because it's so broad. Um, Sorry, you're talking about my work or their work?
No, your work, your work. When you are
Mm.
working with a group of teachers or a group of children for a long time, and then you must have been noticing how it is
Oh,
changing, bringing change in themselves. So, how do you notice? Is there
oh.
a rubrics, a particular way of noticing this, or it is in your mind only, or have you made any system of writing that? How to observe changes?
Right. Nowadays, it's not as often. I mean, I am with supplement, not as often that I work with the same people for a long period of time. But
Yeah,
if I
yeah,
go back,
yeah.
but I know what you're saying, and I did it very clearly when I did the D4LC because I thought, right, who are all the people involved? So how do we prove the impact? Because it has to be research based, and and one of the things which I think was very important, which you don't see often enough, is child voice. We got what the children were saying, and I've got loads of it. I've saved it. What children were saying, and some of it's online. Sometimes
Wow.
children were saying things like, "I don't really like lessons usually, but when it's drama, right?" And children were just talking spontaneously and being filmed. Teachers were reporting and sharing their best practice, and there was a pro forma they filled in and they had to contribute. Head teachers were noticing what difference it was making to the teaching. So it was at different levels in terms of, and it's about consistently thinking about it, getting them to think about it in an organized way, going back and revisiting it and communicating it to somebody else. What always worries me is if you do a training day and for all you, and then they go off, they might not do anything. So I think there has to be a commitment to us at the end of every training day. I get them to say to the person next to them first, as a result of today, I'm going to, and they just commit to one other person to start with. I'm now going to try this, even if it's just something small. And I say, if you haven't changed your practice at all as a result of this training, then it's just been a day out. So I get them to commit to what they'll try and then to feed it back. But if I know I'm working with a group of schools or a group of teachers, that's when you can make the biggest difference, especially if they're ones that want to work with you, they're up for it. And certainly D4LC proved that very strongly. The University of Brighton did external research on it, and that was all published as well. Dr. David Simpson did. It was researched in all sorts of different ways at different levels. It made an amazing impact, actually. But of course, it couldn't be sustained once we had a political change. We couldn't keep the thing going, really. And yeah, anyway, there we go. But I think child voice is important. So often children are told to be quiet and listen.
No,
And actually, we should be finding out what the children think, what the children feel.
yeah,
And
that's very interesting.
sometimes I go to the local supermarket or something and I see some older looking bloke with two children. He says, "Hey, you taught me. I remember you. I remember the lesson there." And you think, "Oh, good, there's an impact." So
Yeah.
yeah, it's whether you remember it, isn't it? And drama is one of those things that people do remember quite often.
Yeah. So, has ever any child surprised you by doing something you never expected?
Yes. I'll tell you one
Yes.
of the biggies. I was once being observed um, by Luke Abbott was watching me teach, and Rob John was watching me teach, and it was my own class. And my own
Mm,
class was very used to working through drama. And we
yeah.
had created an entire community which lived in a rainforest. I was doing climate change, really. And we used to meet and have a ritual to start the lesson. Anyway, I said to the children before we went into the lesson, "There's some people going to watch this drama lesson, and I just want to tell you they're going to give me points. I said, and I'm going to get more points if you take ownership of the lesson. If I do all the lesson, I won't get many points. But if you do some of the lesson and you take, control ownership of it, I'll get. So they said, oh, right, okay. So we went in, and I went into teacher enroll, and I said, please, can I talk? They were having a village meeting, and I said, I need to talk to the village, please. And they said, no, go away, please. We're having a meeting. I thought, oh, that's awkward. So I waited. Then I went back in and I said, it's very urgent. Anyway, eventually I said, freeze. I said, eventually they had finished their meeting, were ready to talk to the visitor. And I came in and I'd got a photograph of my child with chickenpox, my actual child. And I said, my child is very sick and you have the medicine I need. It is in your trees and your bushes. I don't know what it is. Please, can you give it to me? And they said, well, you're destroying our rainforests. I said, yes, yes, but my child is ill, moral dilemma. And I handed them the photograph. I said, I can show you a photograph of my sick child. And I handed them a photograph of my son covered in spots. And the child who took it, who was academically not very brilliant in terms of results, she said, ah, and she dropped the photograph and said, the child is not moving. He is dead already. I thought, wow, brilliant. It was
Oh,
amazing.
yes.
Yeah, no, that's not the end. But that was one that stuck in my head. There are others.
Ah,
But yeah,
there are moments like that. Yeah. The way
yeah, it was
they
amazing.
interpret sometimes. Yeah, so of this
Tell me,
is the world of your books, just a glimpse of it.
yeah,
Stimulation drama to drama and theater, lesson plans and workshops. So
yeah. I need to explain that one because that there's a magazine called Drama and Theatre, or there was until last month, and I've
yes,
written a lot of
okay,
lessons for
now
them
it
over
is no
20
more.
years.
Oh.
No, and that tells you what's happening in this country to drama and theatre, doesn't it? Because they're carrying on the music one, but they're stopping the drama and theatre one. But before I knew that, I had asked them if they would put a lot of my lessons together into one booklet, which they did, the bookazine they call it, and that was it. And they launched it at their
Okay.
expo in February. But very sadly, that magazine is now finished. But those are a load of my lessons because I didn't want them just available online.
Oh, all right. Now I got it. What is there inside it? Earlier, I thought that this was the title of the book, Drama and Theater, but now I know Drama and Theater magazine has published these articles.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Okay, good. So, one of the books is 40 plus drama. Drama is written like this, strategies. So, again, I think it is useless question that strategies, tools, techniques, and you can say whatever you want to say if you are clear what you want to do.
I don't think it matters really. I mean, I just think it. I just think there's a lot of confusing language out there, and it doesn't really matter. Basically, you could say it's a toolbox. I know they're used in theatre, and they can call them theatre conventions, or they can call them drama strategies, or whatever. Jonathan Neelan's called them drama strategies and conventions. I think Dorothy. I think she talks about conventions, but not strategies. I might be wrong on that. Basically, I just wanted something where teachers could pick it up and have a go at something, whether or not they were drama teachers. They could use some of the techniques. Um, there's loads of them in there. Um, 40 plus, and I could have carried on probably. It's a toolbox that's helpful for all teachers, but a drama teacher will do something different with those tools. But they're the same tools, if that makes sense. So, a typical cliche example would be hot seating. I'll put a character on the seat and you can ask the character questions. Yeah, and I think also there's a lot of repetition. People don't think creatively around the strategies and conventions and what you can do with them. So there's some chapters in that book too about how to use drama strategies to develop thinking and how to use them to develop talk. And if I'd done another chapter, it would have been about how to develop writing, but I'd already anyway. Um, so
Okay.
you can use that book at different levels, to be honest, just as a toolbox, grab a tool, or you could do a lot more with them if you built them like a jigsaw puzzle. Yeah,
Mhm. So now this book where you have written about second language teaching and
yeah,
learning,
yeah,
process drama, and Again, so now, oh, okay, I don't know to ask now because again, see, don't you like, I wanted to ask like process drama, people have different like notions of process drama also. But there are people like um, this book on process drama by Pamela and Brian Heap.
Yeah, he's
They
died,
have
bless him.
mentioned those six pillars of process drama and all.
Yeah.
Um, but my question is, don't you think like if we have more or less the same kind of vocabulary, then we can understand easily. If we use different terms and we mean same thing, then for learners it becomes a little difficult.
I actually think that gets misused as well, if I'm honest, because you can run a parallel thing going on and people don't realize it's the same thing. I had a conversation with Dorothy around this because Dorothy's terminology is different, and Dorothy's had every right to create whatever terminology she wanted. And she was using her terminology before Jonathan Eland's brought out drama strategies and conventions, which use different terminology. And I was sort of spanning it, thinking some of this is the same thing, but it's called something different. And I think this is quite confusing. And I did say to her, when I was writing the Rose curriculum, which if it had become the law, which would have been great, um, I was using terminologies in there, and I think if we got that curriculum through, they would have been the terminologies. And anyway, I don't think it's helpful, but I think it's almost inevitable. And when you travel into different countries, you find the same strategy has been given different names. And I cover that in that book as well, 40 plus drama strategies. So in England, we talk about a conscience alley. If I go to Scotland, they were calling it a thought tunnel. If I go
Yeah,
to Canada, they're calling it a corridor of voices. But actually, all those
yeah.
three things are different because they imply different types of thinking. So
Okay.
I think there's a lack, and also I get a bit wound up about freeze frame and still image. People use them interchangeably. I don't think they're the same thing. So I unpick it in that book. Um, anyway, it's inevitable. People can call things what they want. And the other thing is, I've created some strategies of my own. And I can remember saying to Jonathan Nealance once, I've created a new strategy, Jonathan. He said, go on, then tell me. So I went into a lot of explanation around performance carousel, and he said, I call it performance wave. We just created something we needed and given it a name and discovered we'd virtually created the same thing. So I think it's inevitable. But what bothers me is if you get a whole parallel universe going on and people don't realize they're doing drama for learning, they think they're doing something else, but whatever, it's language.
We have already talked about it, but I have a particular question for you. Like, how uh, how do you decide to write a book? When do you feel now you should write a book? What prompts you to write a book?
Well, you'll see that often it's somebody who's a friend who says, write a book. I'm like, no, 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 no. And then the I'm like, oh, all right then. Um, I saw my Polish friend this weekend who I wrote process drama with, and she's got an idea for another book. We had a really interesting conversation around something. She said, can we talk some more because this is a book? And I'm thinking, no, no more books. We'll see. Um, Sometimes it's bubbling up at me, and I think this needs to be written. And I've been hoping that nothing would bubble up because I didn't really want to write anymore, but I can feel a bit of a bubble happening at the moment because I think there's a book that needs writing. Um, but yeah, no, my books have all got a very different reason for writing them. So, with drama in mind, was when I started to see the links between. I was learning a lot about neuroscience and holding my drama lens up to it and thinking this explains why this works. So, I was trying to make those connections. And I have to thank Sam Johnston here in America because he's been brilliant in terms of keeping me in touch with things he thinks I need to know about in relation to neuroscience. Anyway, that won't go into all that now, but there's a chapter coming out in a book soon about that I've written. Um, but teaching literacy through drama was when the national literacy strategies came in and I couldn't see any drama in it. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Drama's a fantastic way to teach literacy. So I wrote a book. It was published and be damned when I was a head teacher. Primary drama handbook was because I thought people need to actually get hold of something that helps take them through how to do it. So they've all got a very different reason for them. Process drama for second language teaching was because I thought they were doing mostly games and it could be so much richer. And the one with Rob John, he wanted me to write that book with him on he'd got a lot of work he wanted me to do that with. Probably should also have done one with Pi Corbett, maybe. They come out of a moment where I am at and something's bubbling up, or there's an external reason why I think it's needed, or a combination of two, obviously. So yeah, I've got one in my head at the moment, but I'll be quiet about that. Yeah.
All right. So yeah. So now the next thing I want to ask you related to books only, and that is, could you please tell me about a book that you always want to keep with you? I mean, you like it very much and you want to read it again or something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to pronounce this wrong now, I'm afraid. But through my life, from my teens, when the person who was my boyfriend gave me a book which was called The Prophet by Khalil Gibran,
Okay.
and I read it and I thought, oh, wow, this is amazing. And then
Mm.
when I gave birth to my first child, somebody wrote, without realizing about me in that book, wrote about what he said about children, and I burst into tears in a terrible state. It said, "Your children are not your children; they are." I thought, "What do you mean? I've just given birth." But I just think it's so rich, that book. It comments on so many things in a way that's so moving and powerful. I do go back to it. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So the book's name is
The Prophet by Khalil Gibran.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Khalil Gibran.
I just got to say the
Oh,
children one.
oh,
Your children are not your children. They
Gibran.
are
Yeah.
life's longing for itself. You may give them
Yeah.
your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts, which you cannot imagine, not even in your dreams. I love it. Yeah.
Yes.
Needs to tell the
Uh,
education system that. Mm.
all right. So, um, oh, I, no, uh, you are so experienced and you have worked with so many different countries, situations, and from children to university students or teachers. Have you ever failed completely? I mean, you had planned something and that did not work, and like you were like, what to do next? Did that ever happen with you?
Yeah, I got asked to write a chapter once, which I did for a book that Peter Duffy produced. And it was something, I forgot what the title of the book was, but basically he asked quite a few leading drama practitioners around the world to write about the biggest disaster they'd ever had in a lesson. And mine was, I wrote one. And I was asked to do a demonstration lesson in a special school, which is obviously very specific. And it was my first experience. I was quite young, and the teacher and I didn't realize what I was doing particularly. And I was using a story because I use story a lot. And it was Oscar Wilde's The Selfish Giant. And it started off okay because the kids had got very significant difficulties. We just were
Hmm.
throwing an imaginary ball, we were playing, it was imitation and mimicry. And then I did teacher in role. It was a disaster because they just believed, they didn't understand. And I just said, "How dare you play in my garden? Get out." And they all ran away out of the classroom. I was going, "No, come back." So, yes, that was a complete muck up. And I've written it up in that book, and it's quite funny. But I learned a lot from it. Yeah.
Interesting. Um, as a drama practitioner or drama in education practitioner, something you believed strongly, but later on it changed. Is there anything like that?
As a drama practice,
You used to believe strongly in the beginning, but later on you changed. You let it go.
my practice has changed. I don't know if I've let anything particular go, not consciously. I mean, I will have because I've just developed my practice. Uh, I can't think what I did before. I think, yes, I think what I stopped doing, if I'm honest, when I first started, when I was in my early 20s, and I was doing some training in Heathcote, and I could do what I wanted then because there was no curriculum. I was just going with the children wherever they went and wherever the learning went, which is interesting because Dorothy talks about great planning. But anyway, the way I was trained, I worked in a way that went with the children. And I can do that to some extent, but but the bottom line is I know they've got to learn this now. So I can't just operate in that way. I have to work differently to that they feel they've got ownership, but I know they're going to get the learning they need from it, if that makes sense. I've also used theatre more than I did at the beginning. Drama and education didn't really, it was separate to theatre, but I've used it more within my practice now. So that's a change that's occurred. I think working with Rob John for several years did a lot of that because he's a theatre director and playwright. But there's nothing I've consciously thought I'm not doing that anymore. I'm ditching it, if that's what you mean. I can't think of anything.
In other words, if I talk about the practice of Patrice, is there a central quality that you are aware of and that is always with you, like that is very specific of Patrice, the central quality that is always there? Are you aware of that?
I don't claim to be the only person who has this in their practice, but I know why I practice and what I believe in. And actually, I'm very much about the development. I care about children, and I'm about the development of human beings. And putting yourself into imaginary situations together enables the development of the person as well as the learning and the problem solving and the creative and critical thinking and all of that. So my reason for being in education is actually to make learning and school as enjoyable as it can be for children, whilst accepting that I know I'm being told they've got to learn all this, if that makes sense. But I won't be the only teacher that would say that, of course. But I do think when I started teaching, it was child-centred. We actually, before the government got involved, curriculums, assessment, inspections, all that stuff, it didn't exist. We had a lot of very enjoyable learning, but I suspect there was a lot of rubbish went on as well, if I'm honest, and then they've sharpened the whole thing up. But yeah, so I just think it's interesting because education can be double-edged. I've got grandchildren and they go to an outstanding school, but they don't enjoy it. But they'll probably get the results, but they won't be. And I just want them to enjoy education. I want them to, it should have lots of arts in it, and it should be holistic and balanced and broad. It shouldn't just be a narrow, and if you achieve it, try harder, get a higher number, and I'm better than him and that's not healthy. I don't think that's healthy. I don't like it. And I'm not surprised we've got so many mental health problems because I think it's horrible. We shouldn't, and when I used to go to schools, I used to knock on the door and walk in. Now it's like a prison. You can't get in. I mean, the whole thing has changed. And I just think it's a shame. I still like it was, but it won't go back there. And I'm also concerned about online education now, which is not the same as sitting in a room in a real space, breathing the same air and working together, and we're picking up on all the signals. It's not the same thing to just sit and get a load of knowledge, is it? So anyway, not sure if that answered.
If you were speaking to a young teacher or a practitioner who is starting today, what would you like them to hold close to?
Listen to children. Listen to children. Don't just talk at children. They're fascinating. Yeah, and get them talking with each other as well. And it's about emotional engagement and caring about the learning, isn't it? I mean, they're very little. They get sent to school. I mean, they're so young, and they're learning, and then suddenly they're sitting still, being quiet, doing as they're told. It's not a healthy thing. So, and I think it's possible what you've got to do is to develop citizens. We've got citizenships just coming on our national curriculum. I'm glad it has. I can't think of any other better way of teaching it than through drama, actually. Oracy's just come through. I can't think of any better way of teaching it than through drama. So when you're working that way, you are developing the human and the social. Um,
What is that one thing which you think always comes back? One thing that you always find, because you have been part of, I suppose, policymakers, curriculum developers. What is that one thing about drama that you find again and again that they do not understand it? That is why they do not support it.
well, if you go back, they support Shakespeare in schools. I haven't got any problem with Shakespeare in school. At one point, we had no national curriculum for drama, but a free copy of the Royal Shakespeare Company toolkit was sent to every school in the country. So if you spoke to newspapers, they said, well, there is drama. There wasn't. There was no drama curriculum. It's an industry. It's brilliant, but it's an industry. Um, so sorry, I've gone tangentially off there. So what's the question? It's sorry, can you ask me that
Uh,
again?
what is that one thing
They,
that uh, they do not understand, and that comes again and again? And that is one thing that those policymakers or those who could spread this much, they do not understand. And this comes in your notice again and again. This
well,
is
they don't.
one thing.
It's interesting because I did speak to somebody once quite high up there in the governmenty world, and I said, "What is it?" to them, and they said that the politicians nowadays are not the same as they used to be. They train in economics and business, basically. So the people who are there are not necessarily teachers or people who actually understand children or schools or anything. In fact, they change jobs, don't they? So it depends what you think education is for, doesn't it? And if you think
Yeah.
education is just to create workers for your industries, which is what we thought in Victorian times, surely we've moved on. I don't think that, I mean, obviously, we want people to be employed and have jobs and money, but that's education is actually about the development of human beings, part of which, an important part of which, is that they can actually become self sufficient and work. But it doesn't feel, but they need to have self esteem, and it shouldn't be a competitive, industry driven coming down into education. It should be about children being developed in a holistic way, which enables them to. And if you look at the future, what jobs are we talking about? We need children that are creative and thinkers and can come. We don't know what world. Look at what's going on with peace or war at the moment. You know, it's we need to develop creative and critical thinkers and people who care about each other and are empathetic and work together, and the citizenship bit at every level. I think sort of being able to get on with a friend, being able to get on in a group, being able to get on in your class, being able to manage in a community, and we move it out to the world as opposed to competitive. I mean, I can remember someone saying to me, I'm a 3A. I mean,
Yeah.
children are just, well, that's just what number they'd been given. They see themselves. I can remember when I was at school, we'd do tests on a Friday and we had to move seats depending upon our results. So we always knew what position we were in. It's really unhealthy. Um, and I just think we should be developing an education system that's about developing good people. And obviously, they've got to survive and eat and everything else, but not in a competitive way. So,
Yeah. Um, for the last part of a few photographs, I'm taking you to those
I've got an awful
photographs,
feeling I know
please.
what my. Don't do it, don't
And
do it.
and you have to say one line about this picture. What would you say?
Oh, very determined woman. That was when I was a head teacher. I'd just become a head teacher and I was fighting for a new building.
Okay.
It was in the newspaper. I was fighting for a decent building for my children. This is my own daughter. I used to do a lot of very serious sailing. And I promised my
Really?
ex-husband that actually it wouldn't make any difference. Once we got children, we could still do it. This is me attempting to still do it. But yeah, I
Hmm.
used to love sailing. I used to sort of sail the North Sea and all sorts of serious sailing.
So
But
after doctor, you wanted to be a sailor? No?
no, but I do like
You
boats.
enjoyed it.
Well, I did it. My ex-husband's a very good sailor, and I did like
Okay.
sailing.
All right.
And I just learned to do it and I enjoyed it. So that was great. But I live near some beautiful lakes here. So I'm just happy to do it on lakes now and not necessarily the sea.
Okay.
Oh, her.
18 years old, Patrice.
That was my student union card photograph. That was me
And
looking
by
up.
this time, you were still thinking to be a doctor?
No, my mother told me I couldn't. She told me I had to be a teacher so that it fitted in with my children's school holidays. Um,
Okay.
but I got interested in neuroscience, so I found another way of doing it. No, but I love teaching and I love kids. So I mean, it's not that I didn't enjoy or love all that, but no, that was when my first. That was on my student union card when I was 18.
So you feel you are already at the right place, right? No regrets.
Well, when I was 20, when I qualified as a teacher, and my mother said to me on my birthday, "I suppose you're pleased now, aren't you?" And I said, "No, I wanted to be a doctor, and I still want to be a doctor."
Okay.
But I do love teaching. Yeah, that's
Ah,
my hippie era.
this is Patrice, 16
Well, I might be
year
older. I
old.
thought it was 16, but it might be older. I was when I went through the hippie stage, but I wasn't a very good hippie because I was adamantly against drugs. So I wasn't very good, but I liked the clothes.
All right.
But yeah, that's my
So
hippie era.
I'm talking to this Patrice.
Gosh, that's me at
It's
primary
such a
school. I don't know where.
lovely, beautiful photograph you have preserved.
Oh dear,
That's
my
so
mother
lovely
used
to
to make
see
my
this.
jumpers. My mother would have made the jumper and the skirt. I
But
do
I
know
can
that.
say, before you say anything about it, I can say the glitter in the eyes, the energy there is still you are carrying. I mean, I must say that the glitter, your smile is still there. And yes, of course, your energy. I mean, I can see all that here, and you are still carrying that. God
Uh,
bless you, Patrice. So this is, I think, around 10 years or what?
I don't know, to be honest. I'm guessing I'm about
Yeah.
9 or 10. It's in the
Do you
19.
remember anything when you were of this age? What
I
did
was
you
a
like?
tomboy.
Were you interested in drama or acting or something like that, or in any other
Oh.
art form?
I just remember a horribly embarrassing experience when I was about 10 and I had to get on a stage and perform and it was unrehearsed. And I had to sing
Oh,
Soldier, Soldier, Will You Marry Me to some boy who I didn't want to marry. He would only marry me if I found him a coat. So I got him a coat off the coat stand, and then he would only marry me if I found him a hat. And I'm thinking, oh, and it's horrible. And I couldn't reach the hat because we hadn't rehearsed it. So I was jumping up trying to get the hat, and I couldn't reach the hat. And the piano was carrying on playing. I was just excruciatingly embarrassed. So my first experience of drama was awful, actually.
oh my God.
Anyway,
Oh.
never mind. Anyway, in the end, he said he couldn't marry me because he got a wife at home. And I thought, phew, that's a relief. Oh, dear.
All right, nice story. So
Dear.
this story does not stay with you anymore. You are enjoying drama and to be on all platforms of the drama. Now, I have only a couple of questions for today's conversation. Like, one is when you are doing your session, you are conducting a session. Where is your third eye? I mean, third eye means you are also watching yourself. You are also aware what I am doing, where I am going. How do you keep this guard on, or do you have any particular method? How do you check yourself? How do you talk to you? How you are going at those moments? Or do you have any process that you follow later after doing a session? Are you getting me, Petrice?
I'm not sure. I mean, to be honest, when I'm doing a session, if I was, with children or I'm concentrating so much on what they're saying and what they're doing that I'm just thinking, right, as a result of that, now I'm going to do this. So I'm actually operating very much in the moment. But I also will know before I start certain things I want them to learn or certain ways, So, but I'm open. I'm less open to change than I used to be because of the curriculum. But I'm about shared ownership. So but I am still the teacher, if that makes sense. Um, I sometimes step in or out of role, but I make it very clear when I'm doing it. So I might stop the drama, step out, and say, "What do you think's happening here?" Then, I mean, so you could say I'm reflecting on it with them and then going back into the drama sometimes, if that makes sense. Um, I'm not really sure if I'm being very clear here, really. I mean, I think you have to reflect on it, but I don't sort of sit massively consciously and reflect on it and write notes or anything like that. I sort of sense it all and I think, oh, right. And then next time I'm going to do it. I mean, you're learning as you go, aren't you? But I'm not sure I've got any particular method.
Was there
So one of the
anything?
things that one of the things that was brilliant was when I was working with Rob John, because we used to work together a lot to train teachers here. We were primary, secondary, theatre, drama, the whole thing. We would very honestly feed back to each other about each other's teaching. So that a valued friend who can feed back honestly and constructively, that's really helpful. And like at the weekend with ALiS, who I wrote one of those books with, we had some really interesting conversations where we are good friends, but we can be completely straight and honest so that we're helping each other. So I think sometimes if you're working with someone else, that's a good way to get your feedback from somebody that you know and trust.
Huh. So, well, what is your next book?
That's a secret. Not letting anyone else get there before me. Oh no. Yeah,
All right, all
but I
right.
will tell you, it's got a hefty lot of psychology in it. It's interesting. If I do it, it will be with ALiS, I think, and she's actually a psychologist. But also, something I haven't mentioned is that I'm an action learning facilitator now as well. So I've done quite a lot of training. I've trained in something else as well. I've got a particular interest in psychology, and she is a psychologist. I, the first person I lived with was a psychologist as well. I've always been interested in psychology and thinking. And I think you come together, and we just had a conversation around some stuff and realized we were exploring the same areas together without realizing it. And I was bringing drama practice to it, and she was bringing psychology to it. And we thought, and she said to me, "There's another book here." I'm going, "Stop it." But we'll see, maybe.
Do you do you also like? I mean, drama is to be taught more as a subject, or it is better to see it as a lens to learn or see other subjects? What is more important in a school system education?
It should be both. It should be both because I don't think I worry when you just get dramery stuff. But how are they going to get better at it? I think I'm using theatre within my drama for learning because it helps the children concentrate. Is a purpose to it and a concentration of communicating clearly. If you look at what's involved in just creating a still image to present to someone else, there's an awful lot of thinking, discussion, whatever. What's important? What is it we want to communicate? How are we going to do that? There's a lot involved in that. It's not that I want them to be actors. I'm not trying to put them on the stage into professions or anything. I mean, if they want to, that's good luck to them. I'm doing it because of the process, which actually is a learning process. And then they present it. Well, if they're going to present it, I want them to present it very clearly. So even from a very young age with very small children, when I say freeze, I mean as still as a picture in a picture book, absolutely still. That's a theatre skill, but I'm bringing it in all the time. And if you're presenting, then I say you have to make it really clear. If you've got an audience, you've got the responsibility of communicating clearly, and if you are the audience, you've got the responsibility of listening. And so I am building on the theatre skills at the same time. Um, and in the curriculums that I've written, it's both. It's not just, I don't like the either or drama for learning or theatre. It's really not helpful. I think it's about what works for the children, but they should be also developing their drama skills and learning about drama as well as using it as a pedagogy. It should be both.
Uh, in this fast changing world, technologically fast changing world, how arts can, I mean, how arts can be with us to realize ourselves as a human being. What is the role of arts, as you have been like arts advisor, or you have long experience dealing with arts. What is the connection of arts with life? What does really arts do in in your view for us?
I mean, again, look at what children do before they even come to school, and they are using arts, art, music, dance, and drama. Quite naturally, it's something that comes from us in a sort of natural way, isn't it? And then because artists produce paintings or sculptures or whatever, and drama produces plays, and it's a form that you can experience other people's expression of it. But ultimately, but as well as that, you can use the medium to express your own thoughts and feelings. I think it's sorry, I'm losing the plot
No,
with this, but
in
but
the
it's
in
it's
other
it's
words, sorry, yes, please continue.
no, sorry. Well, no, it's a form of expression, isn't it? But also it's a form of communication. It's using arts as a medium of communication. You appreciate and engage with other people's, and it can move you emotionally. But also it can lead to your own understanding, thoughts, and emotions can actually be expressed through other art forms. It's a sort of cyclical process, I think, ideally. Whereas I actually worry that most children get very little experience of the arts in schools. And if they do, it's a lopsided one. They're probably forced into some music, which might not be that good anyway. Because I was talking about somebody yesterday, I went out for lunch with somebody from a music service. I don't think there's enough good arts teaching happening in schools. And I think the arts training of teachers has been decimated, particularly drama teachers. And there's all sorts of reasons for it, and I can't see it being addressed. And I don't think sending industry people into schools when they've got the money is the answer. That's not the foundation of it. You need something that's developed through the school with continuity and progression and opportunity for all. And nobody would dream of turning around and saying, "Well, I'm not very confident in maths, so I don't intend to teach it to my class." You flipping have to, don't you? But they feel that they can do that around the arts. When I don't think they should be allowed to. I think it's a deprivation. And I say, well, if you can't, who's going to do it then? Because they need it. It's not about the teacher, it's about the child. So, but it's very difficult. We're in such a low position now, I think, in this country. I don't know about other countries really now, but well, I think it has affected other countries as well. I mean, I'm listening to stuff from other countries, let's not name them, where they're having massive problems. And it all comes to political shift. And it shouldn't be. It should be about what do people need, not what does industry need. So, but
So
anyway,
they say that in this constantly, people are constantly saying who you should be, but our ours help us to remember who we actually are. How do you take it?
I mean, I suppose I've always had arts in my life because I'm Welsh. um, well, it is an expression, isn't it? It's an expression of your own feelings and your own thoughts in a way that you're communicating individually, originally to other people. You're not replicating.
No.
Um, and again, one of the sad things is I think education can mess it up for people where you end up being told that you can't. I mean, when I led a music service for a while, and one of the first problems I had was a parent who phoned me up and complained that their child had been told to mime because their voice wasn't very good. Well, that's a terrible thing to say to a child. Your voice isn't very good, so they don't sing, you can mime. Um, Children get a sense of failure too early on instead of celebrating what they can do. Um, And some kids, if you don't get it in school, you're not going to get it, are you? Not all homes are giving you all of the arts. So if you don't get it in school, where do you access them and how do you begin to understand them? And also they're expensive. I went to the theatre the other week, it was over £50. It was brilliant. I'm glad I went, but not everybody can afford it. So it's not everybody's getting it, are they? Except on screen. But, which is a massively mixed bag.
Um, is Is arts something which the teachers give them, or arts already exist within a child? You just give them a space.
If I look at my grandchildren, they until they went to school, they danced, sing, painted. They were doing it all. I don't know why they were doing it all. Well, I think there is a natural once just there's a natural wanting to make marks on paper. There's a natural wanting to move your body. There's a natural imitation and mimicry. They've all got their roots in just natural development. And then it's whether or not you get given the tools and the space and the time to do it and the encouragement to do it. Um, and then it makes a big difference how good your teacher is and whether your teacher gives you the opportunities as well. And not all teachers have got it. And that's not necessarily their fault either. But if they haven't got it, they need to find another way in which the children get it or train in it and get better at it. As I say, I always hold up the maths and English and say, well, you wouldn't accept the excuse for them, would you? So I don't think there should be any excuses for kids not getting it. But it's difficult.
So I remember Malaguzzi's poem, 100 Languages. I mean, a child comes to the school with 100 languages, and by the time he finishes his school, all the languages taken away, and only one language stays with them. I mean, you were saying that your grandchildren, they were singing, dancing, and doing all sorts of things before they started going to school. So I was reminded of that poem, a very interesting poem. Patrice, we are coming towards the end of this
Yes,
conversation.
late where you are as well.
I have still, like you mentioned, and your work is related to action learning also. Can you tell what do you mean by action learning? Is it different from drama, or it is another name for drama? What is action learning?
No, it's something different I've done. I belong to an action learning set. And interestingly, all the people in my action learning set are from an arts background and a professional arts background. And you have to be invited to become a member, and we never have more than 8 in it. And I've been doing it for about 13 years or something. Oh gosh, it would take quite a long time to explain it properly, but it's something that started in the 1950s, I think. And we've also all trained as facilitators, which was quite a task. So I'm now an official one. Um, and basically, somebody might bring something they want to discuss with a group, or not discuss. They bring a problem or some issue to the group. And one of the first things that's fascinating is the person can speak for as long as they want, and you can't interrupt. And that's so interesting. If you've been an advisor, you just listen, really, really listen. And then you can only ask questions that are about clarifying. And then you can only ask questions which are deep and open-ended. You can't ask anything which you're not allowed to give advice. So it's actually quite a disciplined thing. And you move the person towards action. I mean, it's a whole process thing. But it's been very good for me. First of all, the people I'm working with are brilliant. So we're all members and I respect them immensely professionally. There's an actor and there's all sorts of people in the group. But also, if you've been an advisor or you're a teacher, you're spending all your life telling people stuff, or a school advisor saying, I want you to improve this and this, and I'll come back and check. And suddenly you're sometimes sitting there thinking, I know what I think you need to do, but I can't say it. But I can only ask you a question. And it's very good disciplined practice about operating differently, which has got much more focus on listening. And anyway, sorry, that's a bit of a potted
Okay,
history.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, one cannot guess through the term because it has some connotation like it is action based something, but no, it's quite different.
Well,
Thank you
you
for.
move the person to an action, and
Mm.
then we meet every 6 weeks, and the first thing when they come back is they report on their action. But it's more complicated than that, and it's a very interesting process. And it started when the person who set it up, I can't remember his name, set it up years ago. I think maybe he was American. He noticed that the real advice and support happened in the bar afterwards. So anyway, it's a whole way of working, which I think is very helpful. It's highly confidential. We never say anything about who said what or anything, and you're not allowed to
Okay.
discuss it outside the group. But it's a very good
Okay.
discipline, and I think it would be a much better way of doing school improvement.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Patrice, you have been working in education. Your interest is education, children, and you have this huge work in the drama and education. Have you ever worked on assessment in drama classes?
Yeah, funny you
Did
should say
anyone
that.
ask you to do that? Or has anyone not tell you or told you that why don't you write a book on drama assessment?
I haven't ignored it because you can't ignore it, but it doesn't light my fire. I think you create something that's brilliant and then you work out how to assess it. And what bothers me is when people start with assessment, we want you to achieve this and this and this, and now you go off and work out how to do it. I think that's the wrong way round. Um,
Hmm.
and I can remember meeting somebody I best not name, quite important, some time ago, who his mission was to set up an assessment system for something specific, which I won't name. And I thought, what a funny way to start before you've even created the practice, or it wasn't it wasn't drama, it was something else which is connected. And I thought
Okay.
I would never start with assessment. I'd assess what was worth assessing after you'd created it, the curriculum that would provide it, if that makes sense. And I don't like narrow assessment systems, just writing assessments. That's one particular skill. That's going to completely skew the assessment, isn't it? And I think in drama, there's just been far too much writing about drama instead of actually assessing, the process and the product, as opposed to write about, it's not, that's a different thing. And that's sadly thing, I go back to a kid in my class who was brilliant, the one they all wanted in his class, in their group, really good at drama. He couldn't have written about it. So not really, not very well. So it's not really assessing drama, is it? So,
Meanwhile, we have got a question for you, but I will take it in a minute. I was thinking, like in this age of artificial intelligence, uh, has there been visible shift or change in your way of working? Are you incorporating some elements of it, or are you aware of it, and that is why you are doing this, not this?
I'm very cross at seeing my book utterly stolen by artificial intelligence. The way they can nick your work, and they don't get it right either. Um, it's interesting. I don't get much to do with it. I have very little to do with it, really. And when I do really know something, if I look at it then on artificial intelligence, I think they've got it wrong. It's not really quite right. So I think it's an over reliance on artificial intelligence, really. It's not where I'd look first at anything. Um, and also, as I say, I'm very cross. I mean, I've discovered entire books of mine utterly stolen and wherever. And I belong to a philosophy and a psychology group. And before I knew what AI was particularly, and I can't know, it's chat G, I can't remember what it's called. And I was writing a
Yeah,
book. Yeah. And the bloke said to me, well, tell me what you're writing about at the moment. So I told him some key words and he showed me. And I said, hang on, I wrote that. I mean, it's just stealing other people's work, isn't it? And mashing it together in a way that's not accurate. But I'm sure there's more. It'll take the world over. That's fine. I won't have to write any more books. I've done it all.
Okay, so you are
I
still to
there's more
get
to it than
friendly with.
that. Sorry, I know we've now got it on our curriculum. One of the reasons we haven't got drama on our curriculum is we were told there wasn't enough space. And the person who was doing it, I asked if you could have put one more subject in the curriculum, what would it have been? She said drama. But we've got AI, oracy, and citizenship now, so there's no space for drama. But anyway, there we go.
So you are yet to be, you aspire to be friendly with AI, or you don't care about it?
Don't care about too much. I can remember when
All
somebody
right, so
first brought a computer into my classroom and I said, can you get that out of here? It's got nothing to do with people. I don't want it in here. I was obviously a bit misled. Obviously, it was coming. But it's changed, doesn't it? It changes all the time. And I don't know. I might be sounding paranoid. We're spied on the whole time. You have a conversation, and the next thing you know, Facebook's trying to sell you the very thing you've just been talking about. What happened to human rights about privacy? I'm not comfortable with it, so I leave my phone places and go for a walk. No, I'm not the right person for
Okay,
AI.
so
Sounding like an old
all
person
right.
now.
Sure. There's one question by Bhavik Patel. How can drama teaching balance structured knowledge with the lived experience to create deeper learning in students?
Sorry, can you say that again? How can
How can drama teaching balance structured knowledge with lived experience to create deeper learning in students? In drama education, what is the role of the, this is second question maybe, but first question is, how can drama teaching balance structured knowledge with lived experience to create deeper learning in students? I mean, drama and education is all about it. How this is challenge for you, how you are going to respond it. I mean, because this is how, so can the answer
I mean, I
be
create
in
an
short?
imagined world, and in an imagined world with the children, you're in a safe space because it's a fiction, but you can deal with real things. So you're bringing your real self to it, but you've got the safe distance of working in role. So it's not you, it's the role. So you can deal with all sorts of difficult situations, relationships, all sorts of things in a fiction. You're taking away real learning from it, but you're leaving the role behind you, you're leaving the drama behind you. I mean, in a way, it's the same as when you watch some films or read a good book, or sometimes you're going to engage personally with it, even though you know it's a fiction and it can really affect you. Um, but yes, it was a pretend, but it can still alter you, can't it? Does that make sense? I'm not sure. And I can make a drama about what I need it to be about for the type of learning that I want the children to have. So, I mean, for example, I've done quite a lot of drama with anti-bullying. Um, I want to say there's that teacher's television program about it. So there's a good example of somebody doing it with a class where they're dealing with something. They're fictitious characters, but we're dealing with a real situation and we're offering advice and we're trying to change the situation together. And then next time it happens in the playground, oh, you've got the learning. So
Second part of the question is, in drama education, what is the role of the teacher from awareness to expression? Are you
sorry, from
getting
what was the
this?
last bit? From what to expression?
In drama education, what is the role of the teacher from awareness to expression? I mean, the role of the
I mean, I can
teacher
talk
as
about
far
the role
as
of the
awareness
teacher.
is concerned. Sorry, yeah.
I can talk about the role of the teacher. I'm not sure one in terms of awareness and
Yeah,
expression.
it is not very clear to me also from awareness to expression. That means the role of making them aware and making them more expressible in that sense, maybe. So,
So I
but
don't.
yes, you can tell the what is the role of the teacher in drama education in brief.
Well, you've got, first of all, you're responsible as the teacher. They've got to learn something. Otherwise, you're just having a party, aren't you? They've got to learn something. I think the teacher in a drama for learning situation, they are at the simplest level, they can give information, but within the context of the drama, they can gather information, they can hold moments still, they can pick strategies that frame at particular moments ways of children thinking about something or expressing something or communicating it in different ways. Um, and they've got to be paying attention to the children because what the children are doing and saying tells you what they understand and what they don't yet understand, or what you might be able to help them to understand next. So, and in terms of expression, I don't know if you just mean communication, because getting children thinking and into thinking together, and then communicating clearly for each other, and then now what? And where are we going with it? So sorry, it's a bit of a, but the teacher's still the teacher. I use teacher in role a lot, which I think is really powerful. because I can be a,
So
I
maybe
can.
maybe he is explaining in the next line, guiding student inner awareness to authentic expression.
I'm not into I don't care about that. I would if I was
Authentic.
doing a theatre no, if I was producing a theatre performance, I would care about that. Yeah, but that's not what. Well, I mean, I have created theatre performances. I've written theatre pieces. I've written plays, scripts, and everything else in my time. And I have, we always do. And then I do want it to be expressed. But what I'm about mainly is drama for learning, um, and that's sometimes involves sharing a performance. But I'm not going to get what I don't want is I'm expressing it, but I'm not really feeling it. The teacher's telling me to do it this way, so I'll do it because the teacher's told me to. I don't see much value in that. So what I want them to do is to feel it, understand it, communicate it, and then if you're going to do it for someone else, you've got to find a way of doing that. But you've understood it first, and you feel it and think it, and then you communicate it rather than you just showing something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think, yes, that's very useful to remember that in the name of expression, children are used robotically. I can see like you have to recite this poem, you have to do this, but they are not feeling it, they are not understanding it, but the event is going on. They are a lot of expression, they are getting chances. So that makes a lot of sense, I think, what you just said.
Yeah.
And thank you for the question. It gave me some other things to understand.
I mean, it's different with experienced professional actors. I'm not saying there isn't a time when you can place yourself in that. I'm feeling it from, I'm not saying
Yeah.
there isn't a value to all of that. You're teaching theatre then, in a
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so Patrice, now it is time to say thanks to you and to our audience of this podcast, Arts and Life with Shuba. Thank you, all those who were here, who were commenting, and who were asking questions. And I thank in advance to all those who will be watching the recording. And when you watch the recording, still you can drop a comment if you want. So before we leave, before we say bye, I would request my guest Petrus, if maybe she had something and I could not ask, we could not talk about. But before we leave, I want her to speak if she wants to say anything without my question.
And just one thing, when you were saying goodbye, I was thinking just to let people know that I've got a website which has got some free lessons on it and some free resources, including a couple of curriculum and some. If lessons are in my books, I can't put them on my website. But sometimes I've done lessons that are not in books. I've just put them on the website. So by all means, you'll get a broader idea of my work. I try to keep it up to date, but it has got free lessons and
Yes.
resources on there.
That's very useful information. And can we put that in the description of this video on YouTube?
Yeah, yeah.
That link which you are saying. Yeah, maybe I have already put that. I have already put that your website. So, dear friends, there is a link in the description of Patrice Baldwin's website where you can get free lessons. And let me know if you want someone to come on this platform and share their life experience and insights for us all, whether we are beginners or we are experienced or seasoned practitioners. And thank you again for being here. And yes, if you think that this platform is useful, this work is useful and important, and it should spread, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Generally, I forget to tell this, but today I remember this. So thank you very much, Patrice, for your
Thank you,
time, for
Shuba.
your guidance, for your openness to share your experience so nicely, patiently, and with enthusiasm. That is always what I see in you. And so thanks. It's time to say bye for now. The links are below and you can keep in touch. You can follow Petrus always. So hoping you continue to inspire people like this, Petrus. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Namaste. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye everyone.
Thanks.
Bye bye.